185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast. What's up, everyone? This week on the pod, we are doing our second annual year-end awards. Helping out, you know him, you love him. It is the best dressed man on the pod. It is Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
River cools where I belong, in my Mersey paradise.
All right, give me the spoiler on that one, dude. What's that from?
Stone Roses, Mersey Paradise.
Very hardcore 2022. But yeah, dude, this year was another killer year. You know, like looking through these categories, there's so much winning here. Hardcore is straight up on top. This year, it just seemed to explode. Like, I mean, it exploded last year coming out of COVID, but it's like maintained that size, right? I haven't seen like an extreme fall off anywhere, and it's just exciting. And the best bands keep pushing out the best music, and we've just been on this run, like really since 2019, where I feel like, you know, take all like the size and participation aside, just like the music's been on fire. There's so many bands doing creative things in all these different silos, and I just haven't been bored by anything. Bands are making more palatable LPs than ever, pushing the boundaries still, coming straight over the plate as hard as possible. And yeah, I just dig everything. Dan, what's your take on the year overall?
Yeah, well, this is the year that hardcore has been the biggest it's ever been, but yet all the pockets that are, you know, kicking out the things from within are also just as strong. So as hardcore goes more insular and inside itself, it's strong. And as hardcore spreads its wings with a couple of bands that are taking it to the masses, it's doing well there too. So, I mean, hardcore rules. And like you say, it's on top. And people from outside the sphere are starting to get an idea why this is the best stuff on the planet.
Yeah, and the takes that like the more mainstream press has done have been like okay. You know what I mean? Like I'll look at like the best hardcore records of the, you know, of 2022 lists or articles that people write about hardcore, and generally that stuff has always been pretty terrible. But like this year it just seems like, like that's pretty not bad. You know, you got 65% of it right. You know what I mean? Like you got a shot at getting a C, buddy.
Well, yeah, when you sent me that Revolver list of the top 10 records of the year, I was like, oh God, here we go. I opened it and I instantly wrote back. They actually did quite well.
I thought so as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple things in there that are outside of the lane per se, maybe, but I don't know. They did really well. I mean, they name checked like proper full on hardcore bands. So respect to them for someone having their heads, you know, screwed on right, doing it.
Yeah, I mean, they name checked Indit, Punity, Mind Force, and yeah, you bring up that like there's some adjacent stuff on there, but there's a discussion to be had for another day. That I think that a lot of that adjacent stuff is part of what is propping up hardcore to like the heights. You know, I've always been relatively cynical about how many people actually like hardcore and how many people are here for the spectacle. And you know, as we've been into it for so long, we've seen so much turnover, and that's because, you know, people come in, it's new, exciting, they get over it in a few years. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is a youth culture, and like we need that influx of people all the time. You know, and in the last handful of years too, I've loved like younger kids thinking that stuff is lame. You know, I think it like keeps everyone sharp. You know, so I don't know. I am pretty fired up as I've always been.
Yeah, what I love about the steady influx of youth, and especially in this day and age, is that the youth is driving the conversation within hardcore and outside of hardcore. They're talking, basically questioning everybody's output and making sure um, quality is coming through, whether it be great music or great lyrics, great thought. Like it, it's awesome. So yeah, 2022 and beyond.
Yeah, I love it. Um, so yeah, next episode we'll jump into all the songs and that. But this week we are busting the best of 2022 categories. Dan, should we just kick it off?
Well, we're about to go on an award tour with my mic in my hand.
more 2022 hardcore from Dan.
Thank you.
All right, Dan, what's our first category you got going here?
Okay, so we're going to kick things off with arguably something that everybody who loves record collecting has an absolute passion for. We're going to go for Best Album Art. And the nominees are Long Knife, Curb Stomp Earth, Last Wishes, Organized Hate, Life's Question, World Full of, Mind Force, New Lords, Syndrome 81, Prison Imaginaire.
Yeah, dude, you had to do this because I would have whiffed on that fifth one. But shout out to France. What's up? Uh, yeah, these are all pretty exceptional, although I do not like the Syndrome 81 art, but you loved it. So we put it on the list and we argued a bit. Um,
Yeah,
to me, it just looks like I don't know. I guess I don't love Art Deco, right? So to me, it just looks like a mass produced like picture that you'd see in Carl's Jr. or something. You don't get that vibe at all, though.
not at all. And if it's talking about imaginary prisons and he's got the waterfalls of like tears coming out of his mind while, a proverbial angel and devil are in his ears. I just think it's really cool. I like the cubist stuff at the bottom and the Art Deco approach with the waves being a recurring theme. I think it's really good.
I love the Long Knife LP one. It looks like it would be like a movie cover, and
Yeah,
like kind of not even the movie cover, like a movie poster, right? It looks
absolutely.
so ill and almost like a mashup of like a Monty Python. It gives me like Life of Brian vibes, but mixed with like a horror movie.
It
I
looks like
just
it could be from like the Maximum Overdrive era of films, like 1986 to 1989,
for sure.
and it looks, like some sleepaway. Actually, more like army barracks where a serial killer went through and just got everyone
Yeah,
because of the
we
boots.
that's right. Yeah, we talked the Last Wishes LP a ton last episode. Everyone go check it out. Get in those archives. Episode 193, Handle Business. I love the Life's Question LP art. Dan, what was your take on that one?
The Life's Question one, it doesn't. It's weird because it's like, actually, the more I look at it, the more I see in it that I really like. So yeah, like at first glance, it looks almost kind of a little 80s ish, also like something like from, I don't know, like a video game cover. But the more you look at it, it's got like the train, and then it's got the car coming out from underneath the dark city. It's got life's a gamble. It's all what you roll. It's got the crying eye, and it looks almost like the Death Star, but it's kind of like um, it's like a physical representation of the internet or something. Maybe
Yeah,
I don't know. It's clever. It's really good, and especially if it's a world full of dot dot dot. It's showing how much different things could be bringing this world down.
for sure. And then we got Mind Force also. Maybe my favorite art of any of their 12 inches that they put out, because now they're in the color realm, and successfully made the color transition.
Yeah, And I do love that the sword is like giving some extension to the new Lord as he's blasting things with his X-ray vision or burning vision. I don't know. It's a beautiful painting. It's super cool, and I like the cave element to it. Very mystical, very D&D. So that's right up my alley. I love Dungeons and Dragons art, and this has like a stylistic take on that.
All right, Dan. Well, do the honors. Open that envelope.
Well, we didn't talk about the Last Wishes yet. Oh, we talked about it a lot on the last episode. So
that's right. They'll get in those archives, and we pontificate much.
Okay, let me hand you the envelope. Hold on. There you go.
All right. The winner, best album art of 2022 is Last Wishes Organized Hate LP. And Dan, can you pronounce the name of the gentleman, the artist?
Yes, he's a fantastic tattoo artist who lives in Leeds. His name is Simon Earl, and he tattooed me while I was back in England. I got a little high vis jammer. So this is not nepotism. It's because the album art is the best.
And we're hitting the song on much delay. Here we go.
All right, I'm here with Simon Earl, who did the artwork for the Last Wishes record. How's it going, Simon?
Good, thank you. Nice chatting to you.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on winning Best Artwork of 2022 at the illustrious 185 Awards.
I'm very flattered. I'm stoked.
Yeah, so how did the artwork come about being put together? Did the band have any input in the concept, or did you present it to them, or how did this all come about?
Do you know what? I actually feel a bit bad about it because my apprentice was supposed to be doing the artwork for it. I think she spoke to the band about it early on. And then I kind of weaseled my way in there. Not really. Yeah. Kind of. I didn't really mean to, but it kind of ended up that way. And yeah, and I remember Corin came in and he left at the shop like a rough sketch of what they had in mind. Actually, I should dig it out. It's quite a funny sketch. And at first I was a little bit like, oh damn, yeah, that's a lot of stuff to put in there. But yeah, it was quite a fun challenge. So the idea, the general vibe was pretty specific from, I think, what the band had in mind and what they kind of wanted. Whether it came out exactly that way, I don't know. But yeah, I just did my thing with it.
Well, it definitely came out sick. Zach wants to know if the band isn't as good, like bands that hit you up, if it isn't as good, do they not get no rat or barbed wire? You just do one color brick detail or no skull in the moon?
Those were all the I had a list of specific things which I needed to get in there, but yeah, I guess because it's not real, tattooing takes up most of my job, most of my time as a job, and then working on projects like this I have to be a bit choosy because it does take up a lot of time. So I don't really get asked to do a lot of it. And then if I do, I'm pretty choosy about what I do.
So lucky. It's lucky that you fuck with Last Wishes then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was too fun to turn down for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, being a long time hardcore kid yourself, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. And I think it's always when I first got into tattooing years ago, I think just the idea of having artwork on a record, even now, is more exciting to me than a tattoo on someone's arm forever. I don't know if that's just because it's a novel. I don't do it as much, but yeah, to me, having some artwork 12-inch on a shelf, that's pretty cool.
Well, it probably goes back to the times where we're just building our record collections and going through every single nuance,
every
on
detail
album,
on it,
right?
Exactly, reading every bit of type on it, front, back, inlays, yeah. Growing up in New Zealand as well, I think that, before, we did have the internet, but you didn't get to see everything all the time, and so the records you do have, you literally just scour every inch of the of the artwork, and so I guess there's probably a lot of that in there as well.
Absolutely. Do you have any plans for doing anything in the future?
I'd like to. I think maybe that Rotten Hell Cruelty split 7-inch will be out in the new year, which I did the artwork for. It'd be cool to see that in real life. Apart from that, there's actually at the moment I'm working on a German vegan straight edge synth powerlifting metal band LP, so that will be pretty interesting.
Oh, that sounds you definitely got to let us know about that. But
I will for sure.
Thanks so much for making the time to talk about this. And where can people check out your tattooing and check out your artwork? Instagram's
the easiest, I suppose. Which is just Simon Earl. Always happy to chat about any project or anything on there.
So for everyone listening, that's at SIMONERL.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Simon.
Cool. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and can't wait to see that Rotting Hell split.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Cool. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. The next category is Best Split Record of 2022. And I believe actually all of them ended up on a 7-inch, but it could have been a split LP if it would have been, but it wasn't. So what's up? All right. First nominee, the Violencia and Double Me split record. The next up is Gel and the Cold Brats split. Number 3, Concrete Elite and Faction S. Number 4, Spy and Maniac, laying it down on that split 7-inch. And finally, the Chisel returns with 2 more bangers. They're doing a split 7-inch with Mess from Guadalajara. Dan, diving into this, what stood out to you personally?
Well, I've been waiting for that Chisel Mess split ever since it was announced. 2 of my favorites coming together to right up the style I love. So been looking for that. Spy and Maniac, what a complimentary mix.
Yeah.
2 hard as fuck bands. I'm really interested to diving into the Concrete Elite Faction S, because that's one that you put on here that I haven't had a chance to get my hands on yet. Gel Cold Brats split, super cool, super great. Gel is gonna be one of those bands that's name is gonna just ring out forever. They're just really ramping up. And Violencia Double Me or Double Meh, that one is an absolute ripper. Violencia is just vicious.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that Concrete Elite, shout out noecho.net. They do that long running playlist that's every single band's songs from the year. And I found that on there, and good God, that first song on there is so good. But we didn't get to talk it this year. Actually, we didn't talk any of these on the pod this year, so that's kind of a fun thing. I'm glad they could all get on here, and everyone can check out the playlist, 185milessouth.com. Click that playlist link at the top of the page, and I will put this stuff on there if it is available on the Spotifys. All right, Dan, who is the winner?
All right, let me get this envelope open. The Chisel Mess split on Beach Impediment, and I can't pronounce the European label off the top of my head. So this came out, sold out really fast. Hopefully they give us a repress. They said they're not going to, probably because the record plants are taking 1 billion years. But God, this is a fucking fantastic record.
Let's hear that music. The winner, Chisel, Mess, Split. All right, we got Eric from the band Mess, and we voted them Split 7-inch of the year with the band Chisel. Eric, congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
It's a good record, right?
Dude, it's a good record. You guys channel like that Blitz sound better than anyone.
Well, it's funny because, yeah, obviously it's a tribute also to Blitz, but not specifically, well, as we saw it, not specifically to Blitz, if more on a era on the 80s and certain sounds of the era and certain bands in general. Obviously, one of those are Blitz, but yeah, a lot of people told us that it sounds a little bit like Blitz.
Yeah, we love the band. The song "Street Boys" off one of your last records made a list of ours last year. Although I was looking at it online today and it says 2020, so maybe we fucked up for 2021.
No, but it's good. Thanks for keeping us on rotation there.
Yeah. How do you feel about these two new songs, especially because the Chisel's been doing so well? Like, these are the songs that people are going to hear first for a lot of people, probably.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And wow, the guys from Chisel are doing really, really good job. Every time they release some songs or EPs or LPs, it's fucking amazing. We're fans of Chisel. I even have the t-shirt right now.
Hell yeah.
And they're really good lads. And it's obviously that the majority of people are going to get maybe the EP for the Chisel and everything, but I think and we expect that they're going to have like a really good surprise when they hear Mess for the first time, or maybe it's not going to be the first time, but maybe the second time, and we expect that they have also a nice surprise when they hear our songs also.
Yeah, hell yeah. Did you just go to Europe, or are you going to Europe soon?
Yeah, we just finished our first tour in Europe. We just arrived 10 days ago. It was fucking amazing. The first day was the Mendeku Discag, or the label that is editing our stuff. And we play also with the Chisel. Chisel play on Friday and we play on Saturday. So we just saw the boys and we can hang out there. Well, they are our friends now. It's fucking amazing. The guys are fucking amazing. And it was fucking amazing. We did 12 shows in Europe. And it was fucking great. Really, we are really tired also, but it was fucking amazing. We didn't expect it. That kind of how do I say it? We didn't expect how much people went to our shows, to be honest, and know the songs and know us. Was like a little bit like, wow, we didn't expect that, to be honest. We see ourselves more like a local band, but we discovered that we are not so local anymore.
It's international. I mean, hardcore and punk rock is international, right?
Yeah, right. And right now, I think it's getting stronger any day for more underground bands. And the thing is bands from around the world, not only the same places, It's more and more bands from another part that you didn't expect that are getting really fucking well and bigger, and that's good. More diversity, to be honest.
Hell yeah. Well, Eric, thanks so much for the time and congratulations. This record rules. We need an LP.
That's for sure. No, yeah. Expected next year we're going to release an LP, and we hope another stuff that we can say. But let's hope. But the LP is going to be for sure. We're starting to composing new songs, and it's going to be for our first LP. And then if we have time, there's a surprise maybe at the end of the year, next year. But that's for sure. Our LP is going to be our priority right now.
I love that. All right, Eric. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot.
All right, I'm here with Cal from the Chisel. Congratulations on winning 185's Split of the Year with Mess.
Thank you very much. It's an honor.
Yes, of course it is. How did this 7-inch come about?
Basically, like Mess have been on our radar for quite a while. They someone sent them over to me, and it's the most British sounding oi band that isn't British. Some more British than we do, and basically it was just we thought it was fucking amazing, and we just started a friendship with them. And they just asked us if we wanted to do the split, and normally we wanted to shy away from doing anything like that because splits can be generally quite shit. But when they asked, we thought, why not, you know? And here we are. It took a while to get out, though. We recorded the songs about a year and a bit ago, and it's just been toing and throwing for a long time now, so I'm glad to get it out.
Well, it's like the perfect combination. Like, you two complement each other really well. Like, when I first heard them and that song Street Boy, I was this is like... I was like, this is this is Blitz New Age just redone in the most perfect way, you know.
Like the video for that as well is really good. You know what I mean? They've got everything bang on in terms of like hitting that specific image and that specific sound. It's like they took a copy of New Age into the studio and said, this is what we want it to sound like, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Did you record these around the same time that you record the LP?
It was just after, but they were kind of supposed to be just demos for the LP that we were doing at the moment. But we thought, why don't we just get them out, you know? So these two songs have been re-recorded for the LP, but we wanted to use them for the split. Basically, it's the reason they're not on Spotify and things like that, because we're kind of trying to save it for the LP, really. That's what we're trying to do. So it's not on Spotify or anything like that, because the LP is going to come out in 6 months.
Oh, okay. That makes sense, because I was about to give you shit about that. Like, we need it on our fucking playlist.
I know.
It's so funny because my nan and my granddad always used to say to me when I was growing up, "Keep it stum." Like when we were getting out of control,
that's where I get it from.
You know,
it's my dad and my grandma and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, what does "keep it stum" mean?
Just keep it quiet, innit? I think that's what it means anyway.
That's right. Shut your fucking mouth.
That's it. Yeah.
And then the song "You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet," I think, is up there with, you know, all your best songs. Like, I think that song,
I appreciate that.
It just is. I love when you still keep it hard, but then you've got that throwing it back to, like, you know, Cockney Rejects, that kind of melody in there. Like,
no.
It really.
I mean, there's times where I wish I could just sing like I'm in fucking Cocksparrow or something like that, but unfortunately I can't. So some parts I do have to just kind of shout it, and then when I can do a good chorus and things like that, you know, I haven't got the same Cocksparrow flow, but no, I think it complements itself quite well, so I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah, I love the mixture of that. Like when the melody does come in, like, I feel like at those moments, like, there was because they're sat next to like such hard chisel songs, so it's like it gives you that, you know, peaks and valleys where it's like, and not through like quality, but just peaks and valleys of like different sounds, and it makes for a much more interesting listen, you know. So,
no, I appreciate that, man. I mean, it's definitely what we go for in the songs as well. It's we don't just want to pigeonhole ourselves into like one type of sound, because as a whole and as a band, we've got so many influences. So we just basically want to play punk, and if that punk comes out as a faster narco sounding tune, then so be it. But if it comes out as some sort of Foxbarrow type tune, and again, we're just going to do it. You know, we're not really just going to try and do one type of music. Yeah,
awesome. And if you were going to be an impartial referee, who wins the split, Mess or the Chisel?
Mess every time.
Their first.
I was actually quite nervous about doing the split with them, because I just knew the songs that they were going to do were going to be sick, you know.
Yeah,
but, I mean,
that means it's going to go down in like people's record collections as like a classic, you know.
Oh no, without a doubt. I mean, if it was the LP versions of the two songs that that are on that split, then I might say something differently, but you know.
Hey, there you go. That's a little, you know, taster for what we've got to come.
Yeah.
Also, last question: what did you make of this, like, selling out in like 2 minutes or something in both continents?
I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one, because the same thing when we did Not the Only One and the Come See Me split with Beach Impediment and with La Vida. it kind of happened with that, but on like a smaller scale. Beach Impediment, the records just seemed to go fucking flying, and it wasn't just the color press as well. All of the black vinyl got snapped up by a lot of distributors and all that. But even then, that was selling at the same time as the actual color vinyl, and to see it all kind of sell out, especially in America, like straight away, it's kind of mind blowing. And it just because obviously the last thing we released was Retaliation, and it's just kind of give us a good little kick up the arse for finishing this new LP as well. But I think there's still some available on Mendeku. All the colours gone, but there's a few on the Mendeku site, but they haven't started the wholesale yet with distributors, so it could be that goes in the next week or so as well.
Amazing, yeah. It's winning split of the year for a reason. It's fucking great. So
we really appreciate that. No, thank you. I mean, it's like your podcast has always supported us in that, and it's we always appreciate. And there was some input with regards to the Retaliation about what songs we should have put on it, and you might be pleasantly surprised with the new album.
Oh, sick! Yeah. Well, you got to break out the old piano for us.
That's it. Yeah.
All right then. Well, thanks so much for doing what you do, and come back to America soon.
Of course, man. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for the time.
No problem. Take care.
That's right. Thank you. Cheers, man.
All right. The next category is a crucial one for modern hardcore. It is Best Album Production. Dan, what do we have?
Yep. So what we like to say on this pod is the member of the band that usually doesn't get the props, but because they're not literally in the band, is the producer or the production or the room that things are recorded in. So first, Sector, the Chicago Sector. Next up, Punitive Damage, This Is the Blackout. Gridiron, No Good at Goodbyes. Terror, Pain into Power. Mind Force, New Lords. Jesus Christ, what a stacked category.
There's so much to dive into here. We talked the Sector record a lot on the last episode. This is just a record of like modern heavy moshcore that just bangs. It needs to be like that high budget production and just riff galore, tempo change galore. This thing rules. If you like to listen to heavy music that like keeps you on your toes, this is great from a songwriting standpoint, and then the production's got to back it up. This is totally there. The Punitive Damage LP, we've talked before about, Taylor Young gets like the accolades for doing production like of the heavy hardcore records of this modern era. He gets a lot of accolades for that. But one thing he doesn't get enough respect for, I think, is his ability to really master other styles. Here you have Punitive Damage just playing really straightforward, old school hardcore right over the plate. And he's able to like get that raw sound that still sounds like big and bold, not muffled. And they're tucking like in a lot of things here too. Like, there's a little piano part, right? Like the production and the mix is like just absolutely fantastic. Going on to the Gridiron, the No Good at Goodbyes, again, just like the Sector, the Chicago Sector record, it just sounds so big, so good. It's so catchy, and it just needs that recording to back it up for like the multiple listens. Like maybe this would have been a catchy enough record even if the recording wasn't there. But the fact that like this recording is so big and bold, it makes it like a statement, because coming out the gate, this band doing this LP, laying it down, they came with it. So respect for this one. Terror, Pain into Power. This one's very interesting. We did a whole episode on it. Actually, yeah, we did that triple cast with the This Is Hardcore podcast and
Post America.
That's right. Post America podcast. Shout out Richie. And yeah, and then you and I talked to the episode after that as well. But this is insane, right? Because they brought back Todd, and he had a big piece in like the production of this record and writing this record. And it's got to be so insane to do a band like Nails, where basically you have everything cranked up to 11, right? The speed, the heaviness, like the savageness of like the recording, and to be able to like dial that back and do it for like a straightforward hardcore band that still has like the big breakdowns, right? You still want it to be like super heavy when you do the heavy parts, but you're dialing it back to an 8, instead of an 11. So
what I think about that, it so easily, because Terror has the breakdowns, they have the epic gang vocals, like just really layered everywhere, and then Scott's voice and everything. Without good production, that could become mushy and like run into each other and just not be clear, and those parts not hit really hard. And this production makes sure that there's really beautiful separation, and that when it's supposed to bang, it really fucking bangs.
Yeah, it's straight up spectacular. And lastly, Mind Force CLP New Lords. This to me is so interesting. The modern hardcore sound is kind of a strange paradox now, I think, because a lot of the bands that are going and having giant mosh parts aren't necessarily leaning into like the gain and the distortion of the guitar sound, right? Like we've talked before about Drain and Dare both having like pretty big mosh parts, but as far as like the heaviness of the guitars, it's not necessarily super heavy. And Mind Force is here too. This LP has more mosh than they've ever had before. I mean, outside, like beyond the intro song, that second song on there has like a straight up like beat down mosh part on the end of it, But like the guitars are not overly distorted, and so it's really this new sound that's like clean but still heavy. I don't know. It's savage, and I love it. Dan, what's your take on that one? And the other ones? Just jump on in.
Yeah, I think what was said about Terror also works for Gridiron, because he's flowing, like a lot more like a rap flow, and without good production there, that could become mush, and it could really fall on its face, but it comes out perfect. The Punitive Damage, like you said, raw as fuck, raw early 80s channeling hardcore that has even a touch of crust to it that just is so powerful. It was managed to sound like it is the rawest hardcore out there while still being just beautifully clear to the ear. Sector, we featured the production in our review of the record, and then Mind Force is just, we talk all the time that Jay's voice is so filled with charisma, so that needs to be up front while the music still needs to be overarchingly smashing, and it is a good point that you say that the it's not being smashing through distortion, it's being smashing through riff. The riffs are so like giant waves coming down on you that like it's produced perfectly, because his vocals and the charisma that it brings just ride on top of those waves. What's our favorite show on HBO?
The White Lotus.
No, I was talking about the one with the massive waves.
100-foot wave.
Yeah, 100-foot wave. That's what Mind Force is giving you every song, these massive waves, but his voice is just riding on top, getting that footage and becoming Surfer of the Year.
Yeah, and that one is wild too, because it's a group effort. Like if you look at the liner notes, it's like they recorded the drums in a separate spot, and they recorded the vocals, and then I believe Taylor Young did the mix. So a group effort of all their people looking out for them, and Mind Force laying it down. Spectacular to come out the gate in hardcore with a second great LP. We talked that a ton this year on the pod. It's one of the highlights of the year. Dan, who is the winner?
Mind Force, New Lords.
All right, we have Taylor Young to talk the Mind Force New Lords LP. Thanks for taking the time, Taylor.
Of course. What's up?
What is up? Dude, so this thing sounds awesome. It got our production of the year. Can you talk a little bit about like how it all came about? Because they did all the instrument recordings like in different locations and the vocals, but were you overseeing this at all, or did you just do the mix?
I oversaw it just a little bit. The band hit me up first. I think because they really liked the Age of Apocalypse record, which I kind of did a similar thing with, and they asked where they should go do drums, and I sent them to Jay at GCR in Buffalo, and they have this dude Mike that they did all their other records with, and I thought it would be cool to keep him involved, so he did all the guitars, which was mostly their call. I don't want to take credit for that. But then they asked if recording with Jack from Age of Apocalypse for doing vocals would be a good idea, and I said yes, it would. That would, and everybody crushed it, and it's a unique and awesome sounding record.
Yeah, what was the mission statement? Like, what were they going for compared to Excalibur and Swinging Swords, Chopping Lords?
I think the overall goal was like making it sound like records they love, like just kind of making it feel a little more aggressive and a little more like I don't want to say 90s, but just like classic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then how do you feel when all this stuff gets presented to you without you being able to have like your thumb on the scale?
Oh, totally! It's totally cool. I'm down for whatever everybody's vibing. Like the creative process should be loose. I don't think anybody like being rigid doesn't create cool art.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so interesting, like the sound of this record, as well as like other like modern hardcore bands. Like we were talking on the text, but like Dare and then also Drain as bands that have like big mosh parts, but they don't necessarily lean into having lots of gain. And this is kind of the same way. This is a more moshy Mindforce record, but the gain isn't really there on the guitars, but they do hit like the tempos. It's more rhythmic.
There's a lot of gain, but it's I would say the guitars are like more scooped than the average like modern hardcore or metalcore record, where it's like those records are like the mids blasting you, so they're kind of taking up all the space, whereas they do like a very scooped tone, so it's like a little more classic metal, like crossover-y sound.
Right.
But I would say it's definitely very overdriven, and I actually did reamp the guitars just a little bit and give them even more gain in the mix. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also like the last thing I wanted to talk on is like the amount of reverb on Jay's vocals always ends up being totally perfect, right? Where it could totally be something that's blown out, and that's what I don't like about a fair amount of crossover sounding records is like there's too much reverb on things. How do you nail down like this so perfectly?
I use like a couple specific reverbs. And he's obviously got a higher voice, so like I can kind of find the reverb tail EQ that just kind of sits with him the best, and without it being too long. I think the thing you're talking about is like when the reverb tail is so long after the vocal, it's just like washing out the instruments, and I hate that too. So yeah, like something about his voice kind of just, it's not hard to dial in. It just really sits in there.
It is just so unique that it's nice to have someone that knows how to harness it properly.
Yeah, he's great. He's got a voice that I think everybody wants to hear too. It's smooth and still aggressive. He's got a sick vibe to him. It's just a magical band in general.
Dude, one of the best. Well, congratulations on this record, and congratulations to the whole team that came together to make this happen. It's a modern classic.
Fuck yeah, we're all stoked on it.
Hell yeah. All right, Taylor, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Best demo of 2022. Dan, what do we got here?
Okay, well, one thing that we will say is we don't know what a demo is anymore when a lot of it is just digital on a streaming service. But Zach and I had a fun conversation where I said, hey, if you've put out like a tape-looking layout as your layout on Spotify, I'm calling it a demo tape. Anyway.
That's fair. That's fair. It is very confusing, and I reached out to some people asking them, like, is this a demo or an EP? Because I don't want to disrespect anyone's art, but it is very interesting, right? Like, what is a demo and what is a digital EP? Especially because, like, many things are not coming out physically at all, right? And I don't know. And if the only physical thing is a tape, it's just so hard to take things as an EP sometimes. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing multiple demos, right? Breakdown did a couple demos. Like, lots of bands have done multiple demos. So I don't know. I guess it's interesting to me when people want to consider things EPs when they could be demos, or vice versa, right? Like, Dan, what was the UK band that did the demo and was like, oh nope, this is an EP because they already did a demo.
Wise Up, I put them in this category, and then it on their Spotify says it's a digital EP. So even though it's like a tape layout, I'm like, that's a fucking demo.
Right. And like, and honestly, like, it would have been in contention to win this best demo. Like, Dan absolutely loved that thing, right? But as an EP, that EP category is pretty cutthroat. So we'll see. And there was another one too that I thought,
Click.
like, Click. I honestly, dude, if the Click EP was a demo, I think I would have given it best demo because I love that Click EP so much. We'll get to it. It's nominated for the EP.
Yeah,
but like,
another tape layout.
Right. But I love it. It's spectacular. But anyway, let's get into best demo of 2022. Dan, who we got? Who are the nominees?
Yeah. And, we did just say some other things that didn't make it that are bangers, but this thing is chock-a-block of bangers. Defective Chain, Demo 2022. Major Pain, Demo 22. The Executed, Demonstration. Ankle Biter, Demo 2022. Twist of Cain, Demo 22.
We talked most of this stuff on the pod this year. The only thing we did not get to was the Executed demo. That thing is so savage. Like, that dude's voice is one of the gnarliest voices I've ever heard in my life. And to put it to, like, I don't know, pretty straightforward, but unmelodic street sounding punk. I guess like 1982 US hardcore. I don't know. How would you describe it, Dan?
I think that's nailed on. Great. But with someone whose vocal cords have been dragged down the street.
Right. It's almost like you would think that those vocals would be like for a mosh band, right? So it sounds so cool that they're on like a pretty straightforward demo. Everyone's got to check out that demo. The Executed. Everything else we talked about, the Defective Chain demo, absolutely awesome. Straight over the plate, hardcore out of Sacramento. The Major Pain demo, one of my favorite demos of the year. Again, the dude's voice for Major Pain is one of my absolute favorites. It's like, it just reminds me so much of Killing Time, where it's like, not like a yelling voice. It's like a dude that just has like a grown ass man voice, and he's like talking loud, and you're like, fuck, I'm going to listen. Like, we joked on the group chat because Andy Diehard is a firefighter. Was like, dude, this fool can get like straight up hired. Like, if in a phone interview for the fire department, you know what I mean? People are like, dude, this guy's grown. He can probably carry 6 people down the stairs. Fuck it. The Ankle Biter demo, we talked it on the last episode, I think, on 193, and sang the praises big time. Cool. A band that's like really playing that modern hardcore sound where it leans a little more into the 2-step and the bounce than the fast, but they're just doing it really, really well. And I loved that third song on it where they just went full YOLO and lost it. And then the Twist of Cain demo 2022. This is one of my favorite moshier records of the year. I absolutely loved it for heavy hardcore. This like bringing the heat in those breakdowns, man, coming out the gate with a demo like this. Fuck, Twist of Cain is a force to be reckoned with, in my opinion. Dan, what's your take on all this stuff?
Yeah. Major Pain, Twist of Cain, giving you that hard shit. Like you said, the Executed, it's a really cool mixture of styles. Like, it is, the music is straightforward, fast core with just brutal vocals. Ankle Biter, we talked it up last episode, and it is great, like fast stuff that you need in your life. And the Defective Chain, what I love about that is it's giving you, somewhere in between, Age of Quarrel, Victim in Pain, and nowadays stuff all in like a blender, and it just is recorded awesome, and the cover art is fucking killer too.
Yeah, it's so good. Okay, and the winner is Defective Chain Demo 2022.
I'm here with Ged from Defective Chain, and congratulations, you have won the 185 Miles South Demo of the Year.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We fucking love this demo. When this first came out, we talked it pretty early on of it coming out, I believe. And we went back and forth talking about how angry and pissed and like drawing influences from a bunch of different like areas of hardcore. But, you know, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, when I got hit up to do this band, definitely like I was listening to it, and I was listening how like raw the material already sounded. I wanted to just stick straight to the roots of just being pissed off, and a lot of my lyrical content has to do with just like, I would say like mostly like psychological stuff and just like shit that I see that just kind of pisses me off, especially the state of the world today. And you know, I try to keep it to as true as like what hardcore, you know, is and all that. And so that way I could just kind of keep that entertainment energy when we played these songs live and all that. So, you know, come out that way and stuff. So
sick. So you sing, and did you say who else is in the band?
Yes, sorry about that. So we have Ben, he plays bass. Fred, he plays guitar, and then Eric plays drums as well. We're all currently living in Sacramento, and these guys have had history in the past of being in other cooler big bands as well too, man. So it's pretty cool to just like gather and just start a project that's like kind of like something that I've been keening towards doing too, man. And glad they hit me up for it too.
That's sick. So they already had the music written, and then we're like, hey, do you want to sing on this?
Yeah, pretty much, man. So it was actually Ben and Fred that already had this material written out, and then hit me up just basically saying that, hey, we want to start a band that's kind of like strictly hardcore punk, you know, and mostly like Bastard, Death Side influence, you know, just Japanese hardcore stuff, which is shit that I like already like was like, oh shit, I've always wanted to do something like this, man. And it's always stuff that I was into, man, especially in like the hardcore side of things now. So
yeah, because I love that this has that kind of low, like it's got all the instruments playing, but it also has like just a low like noise running through the recording to an extent, like that gives it that full-on Japanese like sound. But I also hear like some total NYHC in there as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, like I mean, one of my biggest like vocal influences definitely is like the full from like Sheer Terror. I'm hardcore like Paul Bearer and Sheer Terror and stuff. And you know, the other thing I also wanted to do was just like bring in like stuff like just like 86 Mentality, you know, like I said, one of my favorite hardcore bands too. And just how they have that, going back to that raw aggression, they have that kind of just like pissed off, you know, vocal style, that pissed off just sound as well. And it's just very like kind of straight into your face. You know, I definitely was into that. And I definitely wanted to bring that kind of style into that, to this too, as well.
Oh, I think you totally achieve it because it is very aggressive. And that's what I instantly loved about it, is just how fucking pissed it is.
Yeah.
What are the next plans for you guys?
Yeah, so we're gonna be playing a couple shows. I think we got another show coming up, I think next week, with Primitive Blast and a couple homies from Cockring and I think Earth Exit. And I'm very stoked to be playing a lot more. We actually have been writing some more stuff, so I'm really excited for everyone to hear it too. Because I mean, like this dude Fred, man, and Ben, these guys, Eric, all these guys are super talented, just fucking putting shit out like that, man. And yeah, I'm just excited to record more music and put it out, man. So
yeah, is there any record besides obviously your amazing demo that you have latched onto this year that you think is like, oh shit, this is my record of 2022?
Instantly High Vis. High Vis, that record they put out with Dias Records.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that Trauma and Bond song has been like, I think my number one played for sure. And I would love to see those guys live, or just, I don't know, see them come out here, or if I go there or whatever. But that's definitely been my number one record for sure.
Sick. Well, thanks so much for speaking to us, and we cannot wait for more Defective Chain music, so you've got to give it to us soon.
Yes. Yeah, you guys will see it soon, man. I really appreciate you guys for checking us out and all that, man. It's means a lot for sure.
All right, let's jump into the best reissue category. Okay, first up we have Redemption 87 with All Guns Poolside, Blackout Records. Next up, Aggression, Don't Be Mistaken, getting that Trust Records treatment. Next is No Warning, the self-titled 7-inch, Heroes and Martyrs, Steve Martyr back in the game. What's up? Fourth one, Powerhouse, No Regrets on Blackout Records. And number 5, Stay Gold, Pills and Advice, Indecision Records. Dan, what's your take on all this stuff?
Again, another packed category, because all of these were done brilliantly, given the love and care that they deserve. Also, reintroducing or introducing a new generation to some of these, that may not have ever picked this up in the past, like the Stay Gold. Lots of young people probably ordering that and loving it as well, as well as us barnacles. Trust Records, they do real love letter reissues. It's great to see Blackout busting out the real heaters from their past and bringing those back out for everyone. The Powerhouse, the Redemption 87, and then the No Warning 7-inch. I have some absolute, it's one of my favorite 7-inches ever. So, it's great to see that some people can get the, that they never had in that format.
Yeah, it's such a pivotal 7-inch, right? Of the tides changing from that 90s Positcore stuff to just being a little meaner and leaning a little more towards the New York hardcore stuff. So it's cool to have it be in print, and it gets re-put out by the dude that did it in the first place, right? With a new moniker for his record label. So that's really cool. The Blackout Records stuff is epic because these two records did not come out on vinyl in the 90s, but here they are now. The second Redemption 87 record, All Guns Poolside, and also the Powerhouse No Regrets. And man, we pushed for that big time. And maybe it's all lining up nicely, but maybe we had a little tiny little input there to get that back out. And that's a victory for my record collection. This is one of my favorite LPs, all time in the history of hardcore. And definitely one of my top 10 LPs of the 90s. And here it is. I finally get it in my record collection. So stoked. So that's that. And then Aggression, the Godfathers of Nardcore, and they're getting that Trust Records treatment, which is cool. I have about 5 or 6 versions of this record, so it's a whole little section of my record collection. But yeah, it's cool to give the Trust treatment, and also, most importantly, just to get that record on the streaming platforms, right? Because they were just one of those bands where it's okay, classic old school punk band, but when you look them up on Spotify, it's all the garbage stuff, right? It's the Mystic Records stuff, which is not as good a recording, or it's it's just the wonkier stuff, right? It's such a disappointment when you look for a band and all the stuff is there except for the classic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Chris has talked before about when 7 Seconds wasn't on streaming, and it's you want to listen to Young Till I Die? There's one wonky live version, and then there's 25 to Life covering it. That is not the way it should be, right? 7 Seconds, Young Till I Die is on pretty much universally everyone's top 10 classic hardcore songs of all time. You know what I'm saying? So all this stuff is awesome. Shout out to all the labels for repressing things, keeping things in press. That Stay Gold, it sounds so fresh. It's insane that it's 20 years old. So if people didn't get into Stay Gold back then, check it out now. Stay Gold, one word. It'll be on the playlist for this episode. But Dan, let's go to you for the winner.
Okay. What color are these dice, Jeremy Lux? It is Powerhouse, No Regrets on Blackout.
All right, we have Chris Powerhouse. Chris, congrats on this epic re-release. How do you feel about it?
Oh, thanks, Zach. Thanks. It's exciting. We're really, I mean, No Regrets came out in 1997. It's been 25 years, so we've been waiting. It was always one of those things that we'd always hoped would be something, but at the time that the record dropped, people were buying records less, so it didn't seem to make sense. And we always wanted to see it this way, and it's great to see it. It really is. It exceeds our expectations. I think the product's really, came out nice, man. It came out really good.
Yeah, Blackout did such a good job. Everyone check it out. It's Blackout Records. You can get it through the Rev distro as well. I was stoked how nice the artwork blew up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but Joey Vela did the artwork, and there's so much detail. There's so many things that he explained to me about the significance. Like if you count the numbers on the dice, it actually adds up to 97. If you look in the background, like, the graph on the wall, the Second Coming, which was his band, there's all these different little things in the artwork itself that had significance. And so he did like this awesome job. And to now see it in the size, to actually get to see it in 12-inch format, and have that artwork that way is just, it's amazing. It looks great, man. We couldn't be happier,
Yeah, it's so sick. And it's, this is one of my favorite records of all time, hardcore records, which means it's one of my favorite records. And it's so nice because I feel like when stuff's on vinyl, it's more timeless, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's in your collection, you tuck it away, you treat them right. Like CDs, we've all treated them different, Sometimes you keep them nice. Sometimes, you separate the CD and put it in a booklet, and you lose the case, whatever. But like vinyl, like, I don't know, it's just kind of instilled in you. Try to keep it as clean as possible. And it just makes it timeless,
Yeah, I agree. The experience with the record is very different. You get the CD, you throw the CD in the CD changer, whatever it was at the time, you push a button, you jump through the tracks. Like there was, a lot more, I guess, almost disregard for the format almost. Like it didn't require much. You could just kind of jump around and, it becomes a coaster and whatever. But with the record, at least for me, and I've heard other people say the same thing, but you pick it up, and because of the size of the artwork, you really look at it and you admire it, and you flip to the back and you look at the credits and you look who they thanked and you read the lyrics and you're doing all this while you're listening to it. And so it's truly an entire experience that you would never really do. Even now, like when you're streaming, more times than not, you're not looking at your phone. You just, you put on what you're trying to do and you throw it back in your pocket, or you put it wherever it's supposed to be, or if you're driving in your car and you disregard it almost. But I don't know. For me particularly, I know anytime I put a record on, because I knew I'd want to hear a lot of it, I'm going to sit around and wait because I got to flip the side and this and that. And maybe that doesn't sound convenient to some people, but at the same time, you're now kind of immersing yourself in the whole experience that the band is providing,
Yeah, for sure. And LP definitely, and tape to a lesser extent, like you sit down and you take the whole ride, and so much of like putting out an LP is deciding like what order the song's going to be in, like the sequence.
Yeah.
And that's something that like, this record does so well, right? Like obviously the first song and the last song are thought out of where they need to be.
Yeah. Yes. It's one of those things, when working with Lars Fredrickson, produced this record for us too. And that was one of those things. Sequence is huge. Sequence is very big. And, it's like, okay, what's our first track on the second side? Like, how do we come back in, and how does that last song on the first side, fade that first side out or whatever, or end the first side, there's a lot more thought knowing that things may end up on record. And that was always our hope, and that's why, the way this lays out now still seems to work when you go onto the record, because we said, hey, if this thing's ever on a record, this is how it should work.
Hell yeah. I love it. Everyone go pick it up. Blackout Records. You can also get it through the Rev distro, and don't sleep on the Powerhouse record from this year. Renegades came out on Pitchfork. I love them both. Chris, thanks so much for your time.
Yes. Thank you, Zach.
All right, we are jumping into the best comp track of 2022. The best song that was on a compilation. Dan, what do we got?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, like, there was a bunch of comps this year, but 2021 there was like so many that we were like, what are we going to do? Especially those America's Hardcore ones. Those are nuts. This one has 5 killer tracks. 2 Witnesses, The Way That These Things Go off the LDB 502 comp. X Weapon X, You Can't Outrun off the same compilation. Last Gasp, Greetings from Nightmare City off of the Youth Crew 2022 comp. Gridiron, Playing for Keeps off the One Scene Unity 3 comp. And then Bootlicker, The Leash off the British Columbia Bother 14 Aggro Anthems compilation, which is a killer comp. Get into it.
Dude, if it was for the comp title, that one would win it. Jesus. Although actually, One Scene Unity 3 is like straight up probably my favorite thing ever. You know what I mean? Like, I always loved when comps have like that second edition, the best being like, it's New York's Hardest Volume 2. Like, fuck yeah. This rules. So stoked. But yeah, all these comps are sick. I had been aware of all of these bands. The only one that made our short list of a band that I had not heard before was that Last Gasp band. And this song brings the heat so hard. It's like straight over the plate, hardcore. It reminded me so much of the band Committed that was around in like the late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, they bring the heat and they bring it hard at the end of that song. So it's like Modern Youth Crew and then going into some serious shit. Huh, Dan?
Yeah, it gets really hard, but the vocals like ride it so well. It's an awesome breakdown at the end of the song. Song rips, it's fast, and it's 1:30. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, is it Weapon X or X Weapon X? Or is it just Weapon? I have no idea.
I think they go by Weapon X, but X Weapon X when it's written. So they go by Weapon X because that's Wolverine in it.
Right on. Yeah, this is one of your favorite demos of the year. Dan, how did you think this comp track held up to the demo?
It's sick. It's hard. It's straight edge. It's what I'm asking for. They gave it to me. Cool title. Sits nicely on that comp. The comp is a very good comp, so you gotta bring it to be noticed on this compilation.
Yeah, the track that kicks it off though, that Two Witnesses, The Way That These Things Go song is so savage. It starts out like very like Death Threat, Peace and Security sounding, and then like goes into like 100 Demons in the Eyes of the Lord sounding stuff, and like just bouncing back between those two things, like to be so heavy, but then not to fall for any of like the metalcore tropes I hate, like those siren chords or the alarm chords, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Or the panic chords, I think sometimes people say. I hate that shit. They never go there. It's like they're going with all the influences that I like. Clevo shit, it's like the Clevo shit, that fucking Connecticut shit, and they're just bringing the pain.
And this song's a grower. Like the first time you listen to it, you're like, oh, that was sick. Second time you listen to it, you're like, oh, I really like this. And then the third time you're like, yo, Two Witnesses, give me more,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and their demo is great from this year as well. The demo or the EP. I love that thing. We talked about it on the podcast. But yeah, this song, like you said, Dan, it's a grower. Like I listened to it, I put on the short list, and then when I made my initial playlist for this episode, I listened to it and I was like, good God, man, the song's good. I listened to it like 5 times in a row. And I was just like, God, this thing keeps getting better. And I think I tossed that out in the group chat as well. The Gridiron and the Bootlicker, these are 2 bands you know exactly what to expect, and they totally deliver in these comp songs. You never know what way a band's going to go when it comes to a comp song. Are they going to give you something throwaway? Are they going to give you a cover? Are they going to bring the heat because they want to win best song on the comp, And Gridiron and Bootlicker, I don't think these are like their best songs, but I do think that these are great songs for those bands, right? Like this Gridiron song completely represents what the band's all about. It's so catchy. It's awesome. The Bootlicker, same thing. They bring the heat, like what you're used to from their LP. It's here in this song. Neither of these tracks are throwaway. I like them both a lot. Dan, what's your take on these two?
Yeah, I mean, even the title "Playing for Keeps," it's just right in the Gridiron like manifesto, isn't it? You know, the sound, the lyrics, the everything. They're representing themselves like incredibly on this. And then the Bootlicker, it's rad because it's going up against like lots of somewhat tuneful oi, or not even aggressive tuneful oi on this comp. And what they're doing is they're giving you that like crazy, like hard punk with oi slight nods. So they're definitely standing out in that regard too. But it's just like brutal hardcore punk and it's fucking awesome. But not like what we loved about them is the fact that they're another band that doesn't like have crazy distortion. They have these like almost like rock and roll tones to their guitars, but they're cranked up so high they're wobbling and wavering, and it just makes their sound so good. So yeah, this is awesome from Bootlicker. We can't wait to have more. And I believe in our group chat we just shared that they did put something else out, so I can't wait to dive into that.
I think that was a compilation of all their EPs.
Oh, okay.
Like they got all put together in one place, and maybe not all of it was on streaming before, and it definitely wasn't all on like a 12-inch. So yeah, it's sick. And it's cool because I haven't heard that stuff yet. I still haven't gotten around to it, but we talked to the Bootlicker LP this year or last year, whenever it came out, and yeah, like Dan said, the sound. This is like a, example A of like a band where like the recording and the sound is like the fifth member. And it was sick to hear that they like sound like that on this comp too. Like it wasn't like a one-off for the LP. It's not like they got in a studio and, the engineer was able to like create something for them. Like the fact that they're laying it down the same way on like this, where they have two comp tracks. I don't know. Super sick. This band brings the heat. Let's go to the winner. Dan, pass me that envelope.
There you go.
Oh, I appreciate that. All right. The winner is Two Witnesses. The way that these things go off the LDB 502 comp. All right, we have Jim from Two Witnesses. Jim, we took the song "The Way That These Things Go" as our best comp song of 2022. Thanks for coming on to talk about it.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for picking my silly little song to be the best of anything.
Dude, this thing rules. We love the demo, but like comp tracks are very interesting, right? Because bands, they can either go in to crush it and be like the champion of the comp, or they can toss in like a cover, a throwaway song. And like, but generally the first song on the comp is going to bring the heat. And like this one did. How did you attack like doing the song and then deciding that you wanted to put it on a comp?
Well, so when we did the demo, we recorded the whole, the 3-song demo that we put out in last year. So spring 2021. We knew that there was going to be a comp coming out, that Tyler from LDB was like, "Hey, I'm doing this comp. I want you to be on it." I was like, "Cool." So I had 4 songs and I was like, "Well, we'll just take one of these songs and we'll put it on the comp." So we've had that song ready to go since, April of last year. And then it took a while for the comp to come out. So by the time the comp came out, we had already released our last EP. So it was, we progressed past the comp song by the time the comp song had already come out, but I still really like that song. But like, I don't know why he picked it to be the opener, considering that, like, Louisville bands are super incestuous. Like, I'm on that comp. I play on 4 different songs.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. The Weapon X band made the short list as well. Are you in that?
I am not in that. But Weapon X shares members of Two Witnesses as well as a bunch of other bands. So
Yeah, what is like the main influence for Two Witnesses? Because like when I listen to this track, is the other record is like a little more Clevo, I think, like the EP, but this
Sure.
one is like it's just straight up like Death Threat mashed up with like 100 Demons. What do you think?
Connecticut has been the driving force for this band. Like Death Threat and 100 Demons are like, and obviously Hatebreed are like three of my favorite bands ever. So definitely was leaning more on the Death Threat influence on the comp song. A little bit of Figure 4 also. I was listening to a lot of Figure 4 when I wrote that song. And then by the time the EP came out, I was just like, all right, I was listening to just so much 100 Demons self-titled and like, and In the Eyes of the Lord as well. And, Marauder and just a bunch of, super metallic, heavy hardcore bands.
Well, I love it. This thing rules. What do we have to look forward to from Two Witnesses in the next year or so?
God, we're definitely we're going to try to get a little bit more done next year. It's been a really tough year because we share members with like Inclination and Knock Loose and Gates to Hell, who are all super active. So we kind of get the leftovers of whatever time is left to do stuff. But I think we're going to have a little bit more time. We want to get out. The LDB Fest lineup just came out today, and we're playing that again. So I'm super excited about that. We'll definitely have new music out before then. I believe we're going to do 2 new songs and record 2 covers. And then we're in talks of maybe doing a split in the back half of the year in 2023 as well.
I love it. Well, congratulations. Best comp track of 2022. It's there. The way that these things go off the LDB 502 comp. What's up?
Thank you so much. Again, I'm really honored, and we love everyone in the band loves this podcast. So,
all right, we are going to talk the best EP of 2022. Jumping into it, the first one is Speedway with Paradise. End It, Unpleasant Living. Click, Looters in Paradise. Field of Flames, Constructing a War Against You. And World of Pleasure, and Friends. Dan, killer year for EPs. What's your take on this stuff?
And we left like 15 other EPs out of this too. Like, yeah. The list was so packed. These are incredible. Starting with Speedway. Speedway sounds like if Have Heart loved old DC hardcore and beyond more with a little bit of Dag Nasty mixed in there. It's so good. It's melodic. It's crazy. Chris, this is a Posy Chris Ben Edge love fest on this track too. They on this EP. They love it. I agree. It's so good.
Yeah, Dan, did this go like under the radar? It's wild that it went under the radar because it's so good and it's on Revelation. And yeah, it's like if we're comparing it to other modern bands, it's in the one step closer, maybe Praise, like Silo. And they do it great, just like those two bands do. It's wild that it got kind of overlooked, I think. Unless it just missed me, like the love for this.
Yeah, we do on our group chat. We did fuck with this quite a bit, but I don't think we discussed it on the pod. Maybe so.
We didn't, and I didn't see anyone else really talking about this like out there in the hardcore world.
Yeah, well, everyone, you need to get into Speedway. It's fucking so legit. I think they're a European band, so maybe that
Sweden.
Yeah, so maybe that has a harder time, like people seeing them and like talking about them in the parlance of our locale, But then we go to Baltimore and it gives us Unpleasant Living, and we just fucking jump out a window because this makes you want to live, die, and somewhere in between. Like, this EP is so fantastic, has so much charisma, has so many riffs that want to just it's just fucking unbelievable, right?
Dude, yeah, and also like obviously we're talking the EP, so that's like these 6 songs that are on Unpleasant Living. But the LP that they put out for it, shout out to Flatspot. This is like they basically put out the End It discography up to this point. You know, it's like the last like Digi EP, it's a demo, and then these 6 songs like kick it off. So it's like this thing is like an LP worth of material, and everything they've done has been so interesting. This EP by itself, if I was going to give it one knock, I think like it's actually too short. You know, and usually we like listen to bands and we wish that they trimmed off a couple songs.
Yeah.
This is like, man, I actually want even more meat, you know?
Yeah.
And what they do so well is like they tuck so much stuff into like these really short songs. Like, Dan, can you pronounce that French looking song?
Oh shit, I'd have to pull up the track listing.
It's like L'Appel du Vide.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, God, the way the dude sings on that song is so awesome. And it's just so short. It's like, you know, a couple ticks over a minute. So, and then obviously New Age Slavery, one of the big songs this year. But God, they keep bringing the heat. Like the 21, the Hate Keeper, these songs are so short. And then the Comeback is like the one song where they go over 2 minutes, and that bass part, like that riff, like the dun 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 dun, so catchy. Like this band can not fail. I want an LP so bad.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this band, and I want that long form. You know, give it to me. Give me more than I need. I want to listen to it until I'm bored.
They're also smashing it lyrically. New Age
Yes.
Slavery. Read the lyrics to that and just bow down. It's a brilliant song.
It's so good.
All right, next, Click, Looters in Paradise. I thought it was a demo. It's an EP, people.
Yeah. I was confused. So I messaged them, and they clarified that it was an EP. Might have won Demo of the Year. This EP category is so stacked. We'll see what they do. But yeah, Dan, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, just absolutely hard. Taking the beatdown formula into a heady world, and talking social issues, and just giving you like clever brutality.
It's spectacular. It's like, you know, it's not too different musically than like the modern mosh music. Like, let's say that like that band Sector, I think that they're one of the better bands is playing like a modern moshy style. Click is not that different from it, but the sound is a little different. It's a little bit looser, and they toss in a little more YOLO. Like they're just going to do a scissor beat in this part, and you know, just cause whatever the fuck. And I love that about it. And then, yeah, diving into those lyrics, like this dude is a straight up lyricist. And to be this poetic in like a straightforward way, like his way with words is amazing. And for this style, like, you know, which is mostly moshy, like to come with lyrics this good is absolutely fabulous. It's like End It and Click are both like laying down a lyrical standard that I wish more bands like strive to get to, because good God, it's awesome. So check it out. You can check out the lyrics on the Bandcamp. I don't know if it's on the Spotify, but read them and check it out for both these bands, End It and Click, if you didn't get the records. Dan, what's next?
Field of Flames, Constructing a War Against You, giving you that love letter to 90s metallic hardcore. I won't say the metalcore because it's not going to what would be considered metalcore 2000 and on. This is like what was metallic hardcore from like 95 to 98, you know? It's so fantastic while still being a product of today. Like anytime that I always say something's channeling something, doesn't mean that it's 100% that. You can't escape what the world you're in now. So you take that influence and you create something new, pairing it with what you're influenced by today. And Field of Flames do that beautifully. I really love this EP.
Yeah, it is very on the nose of like a love letter to 90s metallic hardcore. But like you said, it's not like they're just copying something, because what they're doing is, it's 25 years since, right? And we have the benefit now of all this music being available. So what they can do is they can go through and like cherry pick the best parts of these songs, because realistically, outside of like a handful of bands, like, the Earthcry 7-inch, the Unbroken stuff, LP, and like the last 7 inches, I don't like a lot of 90s metallic hardcore, but when I listen to Field of Flames, I'm like, God, they like chose all the best shit, because I like all these songs, and these guys are like, I don't know, that whole Real Bass Shit crew, they can't miss, right? Like, they know how to truncate things and write nice, succinct songs. Don't get at me, Pops. I talk weird sometimes. But yeah, they just know how to like cut it all down and make it sick. This is awesome. And then also we should say, much like the Indit, like the LP is like, all right, well, we're doing vinyl, toss everything on there. This Field of Flames is like my absolute favorite format, right? It's like you did an EP before, and now you did a new EP that's going to be on vinyl. Toss that old one on the other side, right? So now you got like all the Field of Flames songs on one place, and yeah, it's great. And then lastly, damn, that World of Pleasure. Chris, I believe it was Chris or Steph, took a song from the demo last year. This is now an EP. They are bringing the heat. This girl's voice is so savage, and they do also like kind of, if Field of Flames is like merging like all the styles of like 90s metalcore, World of Pleasure, to my ear, and this is from someone that is not an aficionado of the sound, they lean a little more into that Earth Crisis chug more so, but for whatever reason they just do it in such a palatable way that I love, and then her voice on top of it is just epic. I love this. Dan, what's your take?
Yeah, I love it too. I love that the EP looks like it's a Game Boy game, like nailed down to the absolute like layout. I love that it's World of Pleasure and Friends, because they have a different guest vocalist on each song with them. And I think it's so cool to like be singing about things that, there's a song on here called Everybody Finds Love, and it's a really, it's a biting indictment of it can be, it's basically just tearing someone apart. It's just tearing someone apart lyrically, but it's the last line. It just stayed with me. It's so fucking brutal. It's like, everybody finds love. I hope you don't.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, Dan, let's go to the winner.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, anybody could have won, but End It, Unpleasant Living takes this.
All right, everyone. We got a kill from Indit. How you doing, bud?
I'm all right, bro. How are you?
I'm doing good, dude. I got hip to the Digi EP, the 2021, like way after it came out, like end of the year. So it didn't make my end of the year list, but like that thing was so sick. And I never heard the demo or nothing. But this year, you guys put out a proper EP. We voted it our EP of the year. And
oh, thank you.
Yeah, man. This thing is so awesome. Like, do you feel like fulfilled with doing this band? Is it everything you wanted it to be?
It's getting there. In all honesty, I didn't expect this much from this band. If I can be honest, I just wanted to be in a hardcore band. I didn't have really any goals or aspirations or anything. And now that we've done it for a while, and I'm seeing so many other people like it, I guess we're doing something good.
Yeah, but it's less about the admiration and more about like your lyrical game is top notch. Like it's something for people to aspire to, right?
Thanks, man.
Because, well, I mean, I like hardcore music to be like simple yet creative, but the lyrics, like, it's what sets bands apart, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you feel that way as a lyricist?
I mean, that's what all my favorite bands, like outside of hardcore, hip hop, anything. Yeah, I'm all about the lyrics because like a good bar can bolster a generic beat. You know what I mean?
For sure. And this record, it seems more so like the EP. It seemed like there was like sometimes like bigger musical parts, like you kind of know the breakdowns coming, like these parts that like kind of pop the crowd a bit. But it almost seems like on this record, you guys have blended a little better, like them creating like a, I don't know, like a plate for you to like songwrite on, right? Like a plane for it. Instead of
Yeah.
like trying to pop the big parts just with the music. It's like they're confident now that like you're gonna bring the heat no matter what. So they can like kind of take a little step back. Do you feel like that? Or
Yeah. Well, that's a good observation. I can't disagree with you. I can just tell you when that first demo, I was the last person to join the band, and I'm all about not wanting to do but so much. You know, you gotta fill out the culture or whatever group you're about to become part of. So those songs were already written. Then I hopped on. You know what I mean? Like that band already had an identity. Then I joined said band.
for sure. So for the EP and then for this EP, the Digi EP and then this, you feel like you had more like input into the actual song structure.
Well, not necessarily input in terms of like the notes and music, but in us going on the road and those dudes getting to know me a little better.
Right.
Stuff I had exposed them to, things they exposed me to, we were able to build a little bit more. You know?
Yeah, I love it. Or if like the one criticism I would have of this record is like the brevity of it, which would be like never a criticism in hardcore, right? But it's like how often every time a band puts out a record, you're like, it's good. If they shaved off 2 songs, it would be great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then this thing is like, fuck, they did it again. Like last time, it's like we only get 4 songs. This time, it's like 5 plus an intro. When are you gonna give us the real meat, dude? I want 10 songs.
So we're doing whatever we're gonna write for this full length. We got some other people giving us some input because things are going in a different direction. People do want a longer song. So that's where we're headed. Longer song. But there was never an intention to write such short songs.
Yeah.
It's just like that's the song. We play punk.
No, for sure. It's nice to have those blazers, right? But you laid it out with the comeback song is over 2 minutes. You broke 2 minutes and the band didn't blow up. You know?
Right?
So, but
it's
yeah,
actually they're gonna get longer. We've been talking about it in the van, and like my dad, every time we talk about the band in any capacity, he's like, the songs will have to get longer. I'm like, yeah, you're right. We play it to a broader audience. They're not here to just like mosh real hard for 40 seconds. They want to listen to a song. So I get it.
Yeah, I mean, just to me, it's great talking to you because just the way that you guys balance like the headiness of your lyrics with also being able to accomplish like some igno stuff still, right? Like you still are gonna have like fuck you backups, no backups, like that stuff. Like how do you balance that?
I don't know. In all honesty, between COVID and like trying to do life and whatnot. Whereas my guitarist, shout out Ray Lee, he writes the leads. Ray writes pretty much all the music in the beginning and a lot now. That boy's insane. Like he's out of his fucking mind. So he'll just serve up something nice, and then I'll wait until day of, and while he's filling out leads, redoing leads and whatnot in the studio, I'm just sitting there jotting something down, and like this shit is real spontaneous.
Yeah, but do you feel like, because it sounds like you have a lot of respect for him as a songwriter, like does that in turn make you step your game up, right? Like if he's holding up his end with being super creative, you feel like you need to be also.
So I try to meet his level of creativity. But what really, I mean, I've never even considered it, in all honesty. I'm just writing whatever I felt in that moment and then put some type of rhythm to it, and there we go.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
So either I'm really fucking good.
Hey, you're You're pretty fucking good, dude. This
Thank
is
you.
a special band. You're a special lyricist. This is like our favorite EP of the year for sure. And yeah, much respect, dude. We love this thing and love your band.
Oh yeah, thank you, my dude.
All right, jumping into one of my personal favorite categories, we are talking the best riff of 2022. Dan, what are the nominees?
All right, this is Reggie's favorite category as well. He just got up and came and stood right next to me. So, number 1, Speed, Every Man for Themselves. This riff we're talking about is the second half of the song, right after the Metallica 1 riff part. Next up, Terror, Can't Help But Hate. The opening and ending riff, brutality. Next up, Wise Up, Spitting Venom. Opening verse riff. God, it's good. It's so good. Reggie, I know you're pissed. Next up, D Block, Mouthpiece. Opening verse riff, channeling Florida, channeling long hair, channeling big, thick drumsticks. Next up, Sector, Writing on the Wall. It's the opening verse riff. And how would you describe that, Zach?
It's funny because you took a little bit of my my speed note, and I was like, God damn it, Dan, don't take every one of my little notes because that's all I got. Yeah, this Sector, Writing on the Wall song, the opening / verse riff, because it comes in, dude. This dude is so fast with his right hand and his left hand. It is just a straight up bob your head ass riff. It's the way to kick off a record, right? You do the intro and you're like, hell yeah, I'm ready for this. And then when the first full song comes in, it's like they bring the heat even harder than the intro. This riff is so good. And actually, the riff that comes after it is really, really good too. This Sector record is like, I remember I was watching some documentary once. I think it was about Death Angel. And like when their first like LP came out, like nowadays, you get that little sticker on the top. It's like for fans of whatever, right? But like their sticker just straight up said, this record has 117 riffs on it. Like, it's like, fuck yeah. That's kind of what this like reminds me of. Like, dude, it's just riff on riff on riff. And right out the gate, this is so sick. Up to that speed, yeah, dude. It's the whole second half of the song. And this is like one of the things I love about hardcore, right? Take something simple and run it through that blender. You know what I mean? It's like, and this riff is so catchy. The dun 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 dun. Like they do it every way, right? They're gonna serve it up to you fried, then they're gonna serve it up to you broiled, then they're gonna serve it up to you grilled. You know what I mean? And then they're gonna serve it up to you blackened. Like it's like, dude, they put this riff out like every way possible, and it's just like that is straight up what makes great hardcore, right? It's like taking an idea and putting a creative twist on it. But it's like
also, oh, sorry, carry on.
No, it's making something that's like super simple. Like this riff is like not technical. Like if I sat down and like it would take me time practicing to play the Sector riff, which is so ill. But like this speed riff, it's like this could be your first guitar riff, right? Like this is one that you could learn like in your first week of playing guitar. And that's kind of what makes it so brilliant is like it's simple, but it's so catchy and it's just so creative, like the way they run it through like this cycle of ideas. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is that it's got that Metallica 1 part and like straight up like tribute to Metallica 1 part, right? It's doing the darkness imprisoning me, that kind of riff. It's doing that, and then it's almost like DJ Screw like chops and screws like the song. Because then it goes to like this like groove, like slower, like crazy riff. And then they lay a tasteful solo on top that only enhances it. And then it drops away and it carries on. It's so good. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. And then next up, this Terror That Can't Help But Hate. Again, just coming right out the gate on this song. The da 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 dun 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 dun. A big, long Todd Jones riff. Reminds me a lot of like that Death Threat Outcast riff off Piece of Security. And it's just as good. is just as good, right? Laying it down, 20 years after that song came out. I absolutely love this riff. And then, like many great songs, they bookend. Like it opens with this riff, it ends with this riff. It is so hard.
And the best part of the riff is like it does the da 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 da, but it's the jun 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 where the real power lies in it. Like the most simple part is where it excels.
Yeah, it's like in that straight open palm mute, right?
Yeah,
that's like what feels so good when you're 14 and you're playing guitar and you're just, playing E as heavy as you can, palm muted. Like it's that feeling. But of course, Jones can do it better than all of us. Moving on to Wise Up, Spitting Venom. This is the opening riff and the verse riff. This riff is sick, dude. It's like one of those things. Like I love that first song on the Turning Point 7-inch. The it just sounds like something like a guy sat down, he had his guitar on his knee and was like playing a riff, and he probably played it for 30 minutes straight because it's that sick. That's kind of how this riff is to me. Like it's kind of a basic ass hardcore riff, but it's really good. And then he adds like in those little harmonics at the tail end of the riff, which is like, as Dan would say, the chef's kiss. And it works like, doing this riff by itself. And then when it kicks in with like the bounce drums, it works so perfectly. And I can't say that I was necessarily seeing that bounce coming, but it worked so great. Dan, what's your take on this one?
Oh, you just described it perfectly. And the great thing about this song is it's different to the majority of the rest of the EP. It's their like, all right, we're going to push the boat out a little bit further, and it works so well. It's such a great riff. If people haven't checked out this EP/demo, Wise Up, check it out. It's fantastic. And this song really like comes along and like knocks you over because it's not like the rest.
Right. And this song will be on the playlist, everyone, 185milesouth.com. Click that playlist link, check it out. All right, lastly, that D Block song. Dan, you plucked this one. We talked D Block this year on the pod. You chose this riff on the song Mouthpiece. It's the opening and the verse riff, much like the Wise Up, go from the opening riff into the verse. This thing is so brutal. It really just reminds me of like a slower Cannibal Corpse song, like Scourge of Iron or something like that. Like, it is that gnarly. It could stand up to all that death metal shit. And like, that's very relevant in this year, 2022. First off, we got Corpse Grinder singing on that actual Terror song that we just put in this category. Then you got like a lot of death metal, like influence in hardcore, and also all that death metal stuff right on the edges of hardcore, because like the Maggot Stomp label, right, with Scott McGrath.
Yeah. And just, the success of Gulch and bands that are directly influenced by them now,
Yeah. And like, if we're going to count alternative music as hardcore adjacent, then we can count death metal. So fuck it. I love all pieces of this big, beautiful beast, as we say. All right, Dan, who is the winner?
The winner is Speed, Every Man for Themselves.
All right, we got Jem from the band Speed. What's up, dude?
Chilling, man. How are you, Zach?
Doing good. We got to give Speed the riff of the year on that second half of the song, Every Man for Themselves. It just brings the heat, dude.
That's an honor. That's an honor. Which riff is it in exactly?
Okay, so on the first half of the song, you're busting out like kind of Metallica style, like the
Yep.
But then it goes
Yep.
dun 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 dun, and it's so good because, in my opinion, what makes hardcore the best is like when you come up with a simple idea, make it creative, and just work it and make it your own. And you guys like work this riff like a million different ways in that song.
Dude, I really, really appreciate that. Firstly, thank you. I was hoping I was going to get some acapella with it, so that's sick.
Yeah,
You did a very good job. That's awesome. And but secondly, like when we wrote that song, Every Man for Themselves, the intro was probably like one of the songs that we had in mind for the EP from the very beginning, and we were gonna do it in many different ways, and we're actually gonna release it even earlier than the EP, but because like a band's intro is so significant, it has so much weight to the intro of that band, it just took us so long to get it right, and that song itself, like. In so many different versions of the intros that we've written, and even in this song alone, like I've rewritten it like at least 15 times or 20 times just to try and get it right. And where it landed, I was happy, but like there was still things even on reflection that like I feel like it could have been better. But it's a big G up, and I really appreciate hearing that because you've had a lot of awesome guests on this pod, and you guys are OGs with it, and I know you know everything from the beginning of time with hardcore, so it's a big honor.
Yeah, like, do you remember that riff, like, the first time you heard it in the room when you're playing together, like, how it felt?
Yeah. To be honest, I pretty much write everything for speed, so I was playing it by myself, just like where I'm sitting right now in this room. I was playing it to myself, and I guess, yeah, honestly, when I wrote it first, I thought, oh, that sounds really dumb. and that's I think that's kind of how I knew it was going to be good.
Well, it's so wild, right? Because it feels so like laid back and like confident, and then the way it comes in on like the ride being so hard, it's just a sick juxtaposition, and then reworking it like to like the beat down tempo and all that. It's just so sick, dude. This is so ill.
Thank you so much. Fuck. That's you're sparing me up, bro. I really appreciate it.
Hey, that's what we want to do. That's the thing of the pod, right? Is put everyone on a pedestal while they're still alive. I don't want to like tell everyone they're dope when they're gone. You know what I mean?
Well, I hope I still got some years ahead of me, so you have some more opportunities to come too.
That's right. Yeah, we can't wait for the next one, dude. More than 6 songs next time, maybe 8.
It's coming. It's coming. I'll tell you that much.
I can't wait. All right, Jem, congratulations, and thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate you, man.
All right, dude. Similar to Best Riff, but different, and something that hardcore does better than anything else. We are talking about the best breakdown of the year 2022. Dan, what do we got?
Whew. We got some chunky ones for you. Speed, Big Bite. This has 2 breakdowns, and they both rip. So they're getting double duty here. Number 2, Terror, Pain into Power. Number 3, Desmadre, Memories. Number 4, Gridiron, Helter Skelter. Number 5, Mind Force, Survival is Vengeance.
Dude, all 5 of these should win. And again, this is like all these categories, it was very hard to narrow this down, but I think all 5 of these deserve to be here. And first off, talking about Speed, the Big Bite song, these 2 breakdowns are so District 9. They sound like they're almost lifted off that song Live Life off the 7-inch. And it makes me love them even more. Like we talk about bands like Field of Flames, kind of almost being like a love letter to 90s hardcore. Here's like Speed, who's coming out doing this like big mosh sound. And I don't know, maybe they know District 9, maybe they don't, right? But these parts are so similar and it's just so ill. What do you think, Dan?
It's straight up the footage of District 9 stomping in that outdoor set on the NYHC documentary VHS. It's this riff, like it's this. Right. And I love that they went there. And not only is it that, District 9 is coming out of a scene that like was Helmet adjacent. So their District 9 were channeling like the Helmet style, like, the chugger, but stop letting the negative space breathe. And it works so well on this Speed song because the rest of it is so chunky and brutal. And then it has this negative space that adds so much more venom to the whole song in general. It's so fantastic.
Terror, Pain into Power, like right out the gate. Like, holy shit, dude. First song on the record, coming in under a minute. It's like it sets the vibe for the whole record. But this breakdown on the end like Vogel doesn't even get to do a mosh call, right, on this song because the song has the mosh call in it, right? Terra Crew, tried and true. Blow. It's so fucking gnarly.
So to me, that's perfection. The way that it goes into it with the gang vocal, then it goes into it, and then at the tail end of the breakdown, Vogel comes in just singing so hard. Oh my god, it's so fucking good. But yeah, Terra Crow, tried and true. Oh, people are getting
a perfect hardcore song, straight up. Okay, the Desmadre, the Memories. Dude, this reminds me so much of what we chose last year, which was that band Adversary with the song Retaliate. Like, this song is so sick. Like, first of all, I don't know. If I was going to describe Desmadre, I wouldn't like think about them being like a giant big mosh band. But this part on the end of it, it's like actually two parts, right? It fully brings the heat. Like the first breakdown is like these gnarly like squeals on a mosh part. And
panic
then
chords.
No. There's a difference between the squeals, which are very nice to my ear, and those panic chords, which are very like, I don't know, all the like the Trustkill metalcore bands that I didn't.
I know
like.
what you mean.
Yeah. Like I love squeals, so I don't know. I love this thing that it was just like, okay, they hit this giant big mosh, and then they go into another giant big mosh. Like so sick. It's a Memories doubleheader here. Dan, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, it's wild. When this breakdown first comes in, there's the lowest guttural vocal that's like almost acting like an 808 on the breakdown. It's like just sitting underneath it, you know? It's like giving it that you know, like what the bagpipes like drone part is. It's pretty cool. And then like you say, it expands into that secondary part. It's extremely brutal. And I was not familiar with this band before this. Checking these out for the playlist.
Yeah, sick band that's worth checking out. I think this might have been the only song they put out this year, so we haven't talked to them on the podcast. But yeah, LA hardcore band that's like doing interesting things. Like, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Okay, Gridiron Helter Skelter. This is probably the biggest breakdown on the Gridiron record. That LP, like, while it has like that big moshy sound, a lot of it is bounce and a lot of it is flow and a lot of it is, you know, like Slayer-esque riffs and parts. Like, they don't really lean into the giant breakdown so much, in my opinion. But like, here is one, you know, and it's big enough to make the list. This breakdown is awesome. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, and it has either the guitar player or the bass player do like a really like hard, deep vocal on a part of it. What I love about when breakdowns happen, I mean, obviously sometimes just the riff itself can just pummel you and it's the best. But I love when like a bit of a vocal can like round out the breakdown at the end, you know, like just catch it at the end just to give it that, taking it from fourth to fifth gear, you know, and give people, while they're being decimated in the pit, something to yell out as their last words.
Yeah, and then lastly, Mind Force Survival is Vengeance. We touched on this briefly earlier, but this is like the biggest Mind Force breakdown, and it kind of comes out of nowhere, and it just sounds so. Totally it sounds so. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, it totally comes out of nowhere because he's. You've got the vocal, you know, with the reverb, like, because he has that sick, just the right amount of reverb on his voice always, like it's produced perfectly. So it's got that, and you're thinking, and then it's like the most downstroke, like Neanderthal brutal breakdown that comes out of nowhere, and you think it's going to be just pure Neanderthal, like jun, 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 and then it does those like upstroke parts that just really frame it.
Yeah, it's like this full like beatdownish part, and then it's just it's so savage, but then it like goes in that really nice like technical guitar. And then also, like, we should say that like the first four bands, like, they have those heavy big recordings. Mind Force, like, this guitar does not sound super heavy, and yet they're able to like create this gnarly sounding Neanderthal breakdown that also has like all this technical guitar stuff there. It is fabulous. All 5 of these, this short list is strong. But Dan, let's go to you for the winner.
All right. I think it's your turn to open envelope if you want.
All right. Well, you rip it for me with your mouth and I'll read it. All right. The winner, Terror, Pain into Power. All right, joining us, we have Todd Jones, who helped. Well, you wrote that song, didn't you, Todd? The Pain into Power song off the newest Terror record.
I don't remember the specifics of who did what, but it was the first song we did for the record. Yeah.
How is it? So this won our category of best breakdown. It's like a gnarly heavy breakdown that comes like off a break, like a pause, you know? It's so big and gnarly, but like comparing it to Nails, like it is dialing it back a little bit. How do you go from like being on 11 all the time to dialing it back a little bit, but knowing it still has to be like gnarly and brutal?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that I did. I just, when Scott called me one day and he asked me to, he wanted to see if I was interested in working on a Terror record with him. And one of the first things that, I asked him, I said, well, what kind of record do you want to do? Because, Terror kind of has a wide berth of sound. They've done melodic, they've done super hard and heavy, they've done kind of mid tempo and heavy, and they've done really fast. So I think Terror has a lot of different ways that they could go when they approach an album. And I told Scott, I said, hey, look, there's a lot of things you guys do, but really I'm only good at doing one thing, or at least I only really want to do one thing, and that's super fast and hard. And he was psyched on that. So he talked to the band, and they all had a meeting, and they decided, all right, let's do this record. Let's have you come on board and let's make a record together. And I was excited. I think as far as dialing it back, with Nails and stuff, it's one influence, but going into Terror, it's I was just thinking like Revelation Records, like late 80s Revelation record catalog, that kind of, for lack of a better term, like that Youth Crew vibe, at least for that first song. The breakdown certainly doesn't sound Youth Crew. It's kind of, song itself is kind of like a mashup of really fast hardcore and then, a really heavy breakdown. But I don't know. I just that's where I was coming from on that one.
Where does that riff come from? Like, are you just kicking around your room and playing around with stuff, or did you write that in like the practice space or what?
Yeah, the latter. The riff itself is well, I'll get to how we got to it, I guess. I think it was like our first time we got together with the idea of working on a record together, and we put together 2 songs. 2 skeletons. One was Pain into Power, and one was the last song on the record, which is Prepare for the Worst. And for Pain into Power, I think the fast part was something I had sort of made up on my own, like in my bedroom possibly. But the breakdown was definitely something that was done in the rehearsal room with Nick and Scott. And again, going back to the conversation with Scott, when we were talking about working on a record together, I was thinking like, Terror has been a band at this point. Like when this record comes out, they'll have been a band for 20 years. And, what would I want to hear them say, or what do I think they should say? Like, what do I think the first song on the record should be like? And I thought that it would be really cool if it was something that sort of reflected their existence and almost like an ode to, the Terror fan base and everybody who likes Terror. And one of my first ideas for the song is, right before the breakdown, I want everything to cut out, and I want Scott to say, Terror crew, tried and true, as a band who's been a band for 20 years. And anybody who's been in a band knows that, there's a lot of ups and downs, and it's not always easy. It's not always fun. And I just think it's a testament to how long they've been a band and all the hard work they've put into it and whatnot. So that's where that kind of came from. I wanted it. I was like Terror Crew, tried and true. Like I wanted to plant the flag, like the first song on their record, and then I wanted it to go into a breakdown. But the breakdown came just me and Nick and Scott in the room, me and Nick jamming. And the riff itself is very it's very punchy, and I would almost not call it a riff, and it's like more of a part, I would say, because the impact of that part, I think, comes from like the power of the instruments, not necessarily like the notes of the riff that's being played, because it's palm muted and it's like very it's one like progression, dun 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 dun, and then the chord, the left hand, like the actual riff part of it is kind of just going down like the chromatic, like four notes, open 1 2 3 4, like 5 notes from D to F sharp. And it just came out of us playing, and we demoed it at the rehearsal space, and it was just something we all liked.
Yeah, there's still options of what to do there though, right? Like, because you decided on the dun 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 dun, you're going along with like the cymbal or the hi-hat, wherever it is, the 1 2 3 4, right? Like bands on those beatdown parts, they can go at halftime, or they can go like the super, like a more riffy riff, where like the drums are going dun 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 dun. So
yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
It flows so good. And then also like, you talking about harkening back like the 20 years and so forth. Like the vibe of that song is so similar to Life and Death. So it's kind of sick that it's like you're coming back, you're helping out with this record, and Terror's been around for 20 years, and like this song has like the vibe of the first song of the demo.
That's awesome. I never thought about that, but it really does. Life and Death has a very like positive vibe, and that song Painted to Power has a very positive vibe, and it's fast, and it's like a minute long. That makes a lot. Yeah, I never thought about that. It's a great observation.
Oh yeah. Well, Todd, breakdown of the year. Congratulations. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks. I'm really stoked that you guys like the record, and you wanted to give it the breakdown of the year. That's fucking cool. Thank you.
All right, we're down to the final two categories. First up, we're going to do the best track of 2022. All right. We got Terror, Pain into Power. We got High Viz, 0151. We got Gridiron, Trench. We got Speed, Not That Nice. And we got Praise, Peace of Mind. Dan, 5 bangers. What do you think?
Absolute. And High Viz would be pronounced 0151 because it's the area code for Liverpool. But you know what's funny is just you saying that and me realizing like the differences. Like when someone will give you the phone number, like imagine if your phone number is 60071, right? In England, someone will say 60071. Just a funny little difference.
That is interesting. Thank you for correcting me. And my dyslexic ass almost read 5150. Shout out Van Halen. All right, dude. Terror, Pain into Power. We just talked this. It won Best Breakdown. But good God, man. Perfect hardcore song. It is there. Moving into High Viz. Dan, we have sung the praise of this band since their last 12-inch EP from last year. But this was a standout track to you. What is your take on it?
Yeah, it comes in just like stomping, like very like and then it goes da-na-na-na-na, and he hits a this like almost Pat Dubar-ish to start the line, and then it just comes in with I think some of the best lyrics like written this year. Easy. This managed decline won't be televised. Our days are numbered on the picket line. We're destitute and demoralized. Our suffering disguised as pride. Oh my God. This song is talking about the Tory government killing off the Liverpool Dockers, and it's absolutely brilliant. It evokes, suffering and also backbone. I don't know. I just love everything about it. I love the way the song sounds. I love the vocal performance. I love high vis, and this is the hardest song on the record. It's really it's a hard song, or what Zach would call a pussy song that's hard. Because Zach thinks, unless you're coming with those gridiron breakdowns, or everything else is not in that category to Zach. But I love this, and so does he.
No, yeah. There used to be that Bridge 9 shit, like the hardcore and non-hardcore places.
Yeah.
I think it was from the message board, I think. But yeah, this is like youth crew toms in non-youth crew places.
Yeah.
Is like one of my favorite things in the world. And I love it when like heavy bands do the youth crew toms. Obviously, I love it when youth crew bands do the youth crew toms. But then here is like, a melodic punk hardcore band doing the youth crew toms on this like verse. And it sounds so good because the singer has a great tuneful voice, but he's really shouting here. He's belting it out. Like, it does sound a little ridiculous saying like, it's almost Dubar-esque, but really, while it might not sound like that, the sentiment is there. Like this guy's belting it in a tuneful voice as hard as he can belt it, right? Just like Dubar comes out the gate and lays it down like that. So yeah, this song.
It's the ability of showing like, it's staying within the remit of the rest of the record, which is being tuneful and singing and stuff, but it's expressing the anger of what these lyrics are portraying. Like, so it's being belted out just like you're describing.
Yeah, and he gets more tuneful on the choruses, but like with lyrics like this, like you really got to bring the heat, on that verse. And, because, hey, anger is an emotion too, right? And like this band is definitely a punk band, like punk band, hardcore band, whatevs, right? Like it's not just like, I don't know, Dan, I failed to describe this heavily on the podcast where we talked about it. So everyone get in those archives and listen, that I have no idea what to compare this to. All right, moving on. Gridiron Trench. This came down to, we had to put Gridiron on. They're one of the bands of 2022 for sure. And it really came down to the two hits, right? Like the No Good at Goodbyes or the song Trench. And dude, it's just too catchy, right? The way it starts out with like the, like the scissor beat or like the blasty type beat, like it's very YOLO, and then going into what might be like some of their catchiest shit, right? You're on the bench, we're in the trench. It's Gridiron coming up with like little catchphrases. It's so pro wrestling. It's so good.
The whole lyrical output of this song is perfect. It is like cutting a promo, like, but also being so hip hop, like GRD, iron sharpens iron. Like, that's such a fucking like opening line. They name drop themselves, but then they also are talking about iron sharpens iron. It's only the strong that survive. And it's just about outing someone that's just, weak while they're in the trench, like it's a diss track. It's a self-promotion track. It's everything I want. It's fucking great. I love it. And then of course, the line that we love, you're on the bench while we're in the trench. So sick.
So good. Shout out Gridiron. Yeah, then we got Speed, Not That Nice. And Speed, again, like Gridiron, like undeniably one of the bands of 2022, right? And digging into that EP they do, like this really is a hit. It's so catchy. It was a single before the whole thing came out. They won our breakdown of the year, but Not That Nice, so catchy, so good. Like from the bounce tempos into like the moshy stuff, and just so catchy on the vocals. This thing's insane. I love it. It's got to be here on the short list. What do you think, Dan?
Oh, incredible. They have so many like ones and two couplet lines throughout the whole LP that work so well and are so great. But one that I love in this, it's so simple, but it's only simple because it's simple words, but the way that it's put together is, everyone would love to write a line like this. Big mouth, you talk shit freely. So safe when your world comes easy. I love that. Like, it's just so good. And there's so much like dog related like stuff going on through their LP, the big bite, and this song has lyrics about, biting down on people. Like, it's just, it's so animalistic. I don't know. It adds to the fury and the them being a gang called Speed. It's fucking sick.
Yeah, and then that one riff part where they do like the big palm mutes when it's just dung dung, and they let like the palm mutes breathe. Good God, it's just like a little like piece of creativity that's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, wrapping up, Praise, the song "Peace of Mind." I absolutely love this song. It's my favorite song off their LP. It was definitely one of Chris's favorite LPs of the year. We'll jump all into this in our Super 7 that we do in 2 weeks, but God, this song is so good. And I love Praise so much. Those EPs that they did in the year 2011 or 2012, some of my favorite melodic hardcore of all time, like straight up there with GB for me. Like if I was going to list like my top 5, top 10 melodic hardcore stuff, those 2 7-inches are in there for sure. The 2016 LP I liked. And then this thing, actually, yeah, they did the LP, and then this is just, it's really good. But I like when they bring the heat a little bit, and this Peace of Mind song is so up tempo and good. And then like that last part when they go to like the slowed down, like Leave It Alone beat, God, it's just so soulful. This song gets me in the feels every single time, like undoubtedly, right? It's like, when we used to all watch TV and like Shawshank Redemption would come on once a week, and like inevitably if it starts from a part where like Red gets out of prison, I'm watching that movie to the end every single time, no doubt. And like no matter what, when I'm watching that movie, it always gets a little dusty inside. You know what I'm saying? And this song is the same way. Like it doesn't matter how many times I listen to this song, at the end there, God, it just is so soulful and so good. It's got to be on the short list. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, this is another one. So, we've got 3 very hard songs, and then we've got 2 absolute opening of hearts and still being really unbelievable hardcore songs. But this is, if you could hear what someone being heartfelt and that being a setting on a like engineering board in a studio, like if it was a setting, this is what it would sound like. This is someone just pouring it out while being so melodically in symbiosis with the music. It's just fantastic hardcore. It's the kind of hardcore that just makes you feel. Like lots of other hardcore will make you want to smash. This makes you want to like open the tendrils of your body to like feel the universe around you. Like, and it's clever. The lyrics of this are extremely clever. I mean, I love all 5 songs up for this category, and I'm so glad that Praise made it into this collection.
Yeah, when they're at their peak, no one can like get you in the feels in this lane like Praise. They're like the absolute apex of the style. All right, Dan, let's go to you for the winner.
All right. I'm really psyched. It's High Vis 0151. All right, we're here with Graham from High Vis, winning track of the year for 0151. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I've made it.
Yeah, that's right. 185 awards, the most prestigious awards in the entire
heralded.
Yeah. So 0151 is arguably like the hardest song on the LP. And it's dealing with an extremely like hard lyrical makeup basically about, if you want to explain what it's about?
Yeah, it's basically, I came about during lockdown, and I was just, writing songs stuck indoors. And then my uncle, who'd been ill for a while, he had asbestosis from working on the docks, and like a lot of him and his mates, and he's like in and out of hospital for a long time. And over the pandemic, he died, and I ended up going to the funeral. Fucking about 6 people there because you couldn't go. Everyone sat away from each other, and then I wrote it just thinking about him and about where we grew up, and then just every day the fucking constant barrage of like Tory propaganda on the telly, and then obviously which culminated in finding out that none of them gave a fuck about the rules, and we just sat there and buried my uncle. And yeah, it was just about I guess like loosely about the Northwest. Well, it is specifically about the Northwest, but it's like loosely about that kind of attitude and sort of solidarity amongst the working class.
What I get from it that's amazing is like the opening line, "This managed decline won't be televised," is so perfect, because the way the Tories attacked the dockers, they'd already had a game plan from the miners' strikes,
Yeah.
So
there was that leaked text, the leaked text back in the day. It was just like, it might be more in order to have a managed decline of the North. And it's like, and that, that's actual verbatim fucking language used amongst horrible Tory cunts. So
yeah, insane. Like, for lots of people listening, they might not know Liverpool is a docking town. It's like city. It's the biggest port in England, that and Southampton. So, 60% of the working class was on the docks at one point for that city. So
yeah, my family, like my uncle, my dad worked as a tuna chunk checker once, checking tins of tuna chunks when he got made redundant from BT. And that was just down on the docks, and it's a lot like a bunch of shipbuilders and dockers. Basically, my uncle was a shipbuilder, so he was there waiting camel heads.
Yeah, so this song hits hard for me, and the great thing is, you've explained, when you spoke to Ray, talking about how lots of American people are reaching out to you saying they feel these lyrics so much because they're very applicable in all walks of life,
Yeah, it's like such an amazing thing to me, because I never thought anything of any band or anything you've ever done. You just think it's just what you do. Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden I've had people who are just these little stories about essentially small town scenarios of people who are just fucking hell, that song really resonated with me, or about solidarity amongst workers or unionized workers or whatever. And I think it's fucking sick.
yeah. I'm echo all that sentiment too, coming from me. It's important. It's important that art reflects pain, and the pain that is put on the people of this earth is always on the working class, or even the people who are unfortunately, less. I won't say less than, because that's disrespectful, but people who are unable to work.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think and that's the thing that really sticks with me. I mean, the song isn't necessarily just about the people who work in the docks or whatever, but like I was saying, I got my brother who's disabled, and the way he's treated by the Tory government, and every year he's put through these really dehumanizing tests to check if he's still as disabled as he was since he was born. Do you know what I mean? And it's every year we should be supporting these people. Do you know what I mean? I don't think anyone in this country would go, do you know what? Actually, I don't want my tax going to those people who are in a position where, you know what I mean, their life isn't fucking the easiest thing, and they're also just villainized. It's fucking horrible.
It's a disgrace. So this song musically is the hardest one on the LP. Do you think every time you do a new LP, and as your sound expands, you're still going to have that hardcore banger just to smash people up to?
I hope so. I mean, it's one of my favorite songs to sing, because it's also kind of I've really enjoyed trying to sing. Do you know what I mean? I never thought in my life I'd be trying to sing in tune or whatever. But when Martin was just oh, I'll try and do this or whatever, and I was and now I'm really enjoying it. So there's like parts of it I want to push in that way, and then there's parts of it like I'm trying my best not to be sort of angry in a way that isn't helpful to me, but it's still there. Do you know what I mean? I'm still an angry cunt. So I think it's gonna end up happening. I think we've nearly got a new LP written at this point, and there's some songs that like not so it's not like a framework. Do you know what I mean? We're not like, oh no, we'll do another 015 one, but I wrote a song about my brother, and it's just like it's just so angry, and it's frustrating, and lost, and I don't think it makes any. I don't know if it makes sense yet. Who knows? But
I mean, that's what hardcore is here for. Is to get
exactly. Went fuck for hardcore.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell people where they can check in with you.
Where can they check in with us? Well, pretty bad at it, but Instagram, I guess, is the best way. If you want to shout us or say hello or whatever, just Instagram's the one. And we're playing in, well, it's not all sorted yet, but we'll be coming out to the States hopefully in April next year. That's the plan. We're just trying to fucking cobble together money to get visas sorted. And then we've got a little tour in February as well. So anyone in Europe, we're playing a couple of days across Europe. So have a look.
Amazing. Well, you better be coming to the West Coast. No, just East Coast bias.
Mate, I'm doing whatever I'm told. I want no part in organising anything. But yeah, I mean, of course. I want
if you're doing what you're told, I'm telling you that you're coming to the West Coast.
See, well, Ellie, thanks so much for you lot as well for like, I mean, obviously this means the world. Getting this award is, but it's mad that you are the ones who backed us from the first LP when that LP came out and we were just like, oh right, well, no one gives a fuck. So, and then we were just stuck indoors in the pandemic. So it means mad to see now that people actually seem to care, which is cool.
Well, 185 miles south loves high vis forever.
Well, thank you. I love you too.
All right, everyone, we're coming down to the come down. It is the best LP of 2022. And not just hardcore, for all of music, because hardcore is the best. What's up? All right, who are our nominees, Dan?
All right, this is a packed category on a packed year in the best genre of music of all time. Number 1, Punitive Damage, This Is the Blackout. Number 2, Mind Force, New Lords. Number 3, Terror, Pain into Power. Number 4, Long Knife, Curb Stomp Earth. Number 5, Gridiron, No Good at Goodbyes.
All bangers, dude. All killer, no filler. Holy cow. Kicking it off, Punitive Damage, This Is the Blackout. We've been looking forward to this LP for so long, and it delivered. We talked it this year on the pod. But Dan, what's your take?
I adore this record. When it first came out, I must have listened to this on, you know how they're doing those fucking things on Instagram now where you have a fest of your Spotify listens? I bet you Punitive Damage will make it onto my fest just from how much I listened to this when it first came out. Also, the title of the record, The Damned had us waiting for the blackout, and then Punitive Damage said, nah, this is the blackout, and they gave it to us.
Yeah, much like that Two Witnesses song where we said it gets better and better on every listen. That's not to take away from the first listen, right? Because I love that Two Witnesses demo, and I didn't even realize that comp track existed. And then when we talked about this category, and Chris is like, dude, that Two Witnesses track has got to be on there. I listened to it, and I was like, fuck, this song bangs. But then every listen, it got better. And that's how this Puny D was to me. When I listened to it the first time, I was like, fuck yeah, it delivered. Right? It was like the perfect amount of songs. Like, it's just a great LP and like so over the plate, but like still like branching out just enough to keep things interesting. Recording's perfect. Steph's vocals are cranked up to 11. I love it. But my point is, when I listened to it the first time, I was like, this delivers. This is so awesome. But on every listen since then, it just keeps getting better and better. I've listened to this album a ton of times by now. I haven't gotten sick of it yet. It keeps getting better. And holy cow, what an accomplishment. I love this thing.
It really does. And I have just cycled back to the part where she's going, "Shut your fucking mouth," and I like go back to where she just starts doing that part again and again and again. It's like me calling in and going, "What do you want to hear? Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang again and again and again. Punitive Damage again and again and again." That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because what can be more on the nose than like a hardcore band yelling "shut your mouth," right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, just like we talked about with like that speed, every man for themselves riff, like what makes hardcore great at its best is taking something simple and being able to pull it off, right? Take something that is like out there in like the ether, pull it in, make it your own, and make it awesome. And like that's a perfect example of that. Okay, Mind Force New Lords. Good God, we talked the hell out of this record this year too. What an accomplishment to follow up on the first LP and then like that 12-inch with the 4 songs, and then now this, a second LP having to be just as good. And good God, man, it's like they did it again. I can't sing the praise of this LP enough. I want to yell it from the rooftops. What's your take, Dan?
Well, everything about them is perfect. They write perfect songs. They have perfect production. They keep things interesting. They have titles that just make you know that you're going to love it. Like the name of this LP, New Lords, like I already knew, like it's got pseudo like Wu-Tang like reference without it being a Wu-Tang reference. Do you know what I mean? To me, that's what it conjures up to me, even though it doesn't sound anything like that, of course. But charisma, hardness, clever lyrics, really great song titles. It's got it all. Mind Force, they're never going to let you down. I mean, I'm touching wood right now. They're never going to let you down.
And it's got that swagger, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what puts it over the top. And the other thing is like these dudes are true fans of hardcore and they paid their dues. They were in bands before this. This isn't like a band that came out of the gate and like hit it and went. And the other thing is like their bands that they did before this, like they were in that Living Laser band for a while and like did multiple like releases with it. It wasn't like a lot of bands now, you know, like throw shit against the wall and wait till something sticks. And if it sticks, run with that. Right. It's not like that. Everything about this band rules. Like if someone's going to be, what's your favorite hardcore band? And like someone said Mind Force, I'd be like, that is what's up. Like they're everything that is good about this style of music that we love, you know? And like I said, I'm singing from the rooftops or the mountaintops or whatever the fuck that phrase is. All right. Terror, Pain into Power. Holy shit. I loved the last 2 Terror records. But this one like is just a little bit better. And we talked it a ton on the pod this year, but they trimmed a lot of the fat. You know, like there's just that expectation when you go into the studio and you're a band that's put out LPs, you got to come with like another record, right? You're going to put out 12, 14 songs. You want to have it be a half hour, whatever, right? Maybe a little new perspective from bringing Todd back in. They trimmed some of the fat and just put out another Terror classic, right? Any year with a Terror record is a good year for hardcore. All their LPs bring the heat, but this one is just, it's a little better than like, you know, all of them going back in maybe to lowest of low, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is what happens when you sit down and you think about it, but at the same time, you feel everything and it comes out in a natural feeling way with, in the back of your mind, the plan. This is how a perfect hardcore record is put together. You actually spend time thinking about it. You think about making yourself more streamlined, making yourself hit harder, making yourself not get stuck in the mud at all. And that's what happens if you actively think about, like, you coach yourself into a way, but then you let the feeling and the pure rage take over. That's what Pain into Power is. It's perfect.
All right, Long Knife, Curb Stomp Earth. This is one of the LPs that we didn't get to talk to this year. Maybe we'll talk it in January, but I did want to put it on this short list for best LP. I've been kicking it around since this came out. is like this one of the greatest LPs I've heard in the last 5 years, or is this like a little too on the nose and LARPy Poison Idea worship? And the more I listen to it, the more I just think it's fucking awesome. And it's like just a great piece of hardcore punk. And Dan, you've seen me like toss this out of like a multitude of people like asking that same question, right? And recently in the group chat, we were asking Mike Cheese, right? Like, dude, is this awesome or is this like kind of LARPy? You know what I mean? And like he leaned into it even harder than I did, right? Like some of like the lyrics that seemed like a angsty 13-year-old kid, like the way he brought it up to me like that, I was like, I kind of like was apprehensive about that being awesome. And he's like, dude, if they don't have like, a song on the next record called like Anarchy Rules, like I'm going to be disappointed. And I'm like, fuck, that kind of makes sense, right? Like they leaned into the Poison Idea shit so hard. Why not lean into like just kind of simple, like the government sucks, like lyrics, like so hard, right? Like sometimes you just want to be in your lane, and this thing kicks ass. Like it sounds like a Missing Poison Idea record, like from like that era, like the 88 to 92-ish era Poison Idea. If you love that stuff, these guys come out the gate and they got a music video. I looked at the guy long and hard. I was like, is this dude a poser or not? I leaned on not poser. And yeah, so I love this thing. Dan, have you gotten a chance to sit with this record at all?
Yeah. What I think about talking about like being in the lane or cosplay or anything like that, if you want to celebrate something that is fantastic and base an output, a sound around something that has meant the world to you, I don't usually, unless it's done in a disingenuous way or with, oh, we're making fun of this instead. Like, I always celebrate people like having their heart on their sleeve and showing their influences to the max. And I think this is fantastic for that. Like you say, the video, they're definitely like tongue in cheek having fun, but they're also like the song just rips. Like it fucking rips. And I love the little Decline of Western Civilization nod where he's in the floaty in the pool drinking the Jack Daniels and all that. Yeah, I think this is awesome. I'm glad it's on the list. I'm glad it provides a bit more difference on the list, like a different lane is shown. So yeah, I love it.
We should say Decline Part 2.
Yes.
Okay, and then wrapping up, Gridiron, No Good at Goodbyes. This and Speed, really like the breakout bands of the year, in my opinion. And so nice to just get like new bands, new blood breaking out, like being possible headliners. And this Gridiron record, like, dude, it shouldn't have been this good. I would have never guessed this record is that good, right? We came across them when they did a split with, God, I'm sorry for forgetting whoever they did a split with, right?
Age of Apocalypse, I think.
Okay, yeah, because we took the Pain of Truth side of their split and the Gridiron side of their split, right? And I'm like, God, if we put these two bands together, it would be like one of the best splits of the year. And both those bands have done great, but Gridiron come with that LP. I never would have thought like they could pull it off for the whole LP, right? Because I don't know. Like again, this is a little on the nose of what it is. We know what it is, right? And it really works like in the short shots, right? Like a split 7-inch, you're like, God damn, this is catchy and good. But then they go to the LP and it's just like, fucking A. They did it, the whole LP, it doesn't fall off. All the songs bang, is catchy the whole way through. Dude's got flow the whole way through. It just grabs your attention, keeps it. They came with a hard recording, and it's just a great LP. It's a great hardcore LP, and definitely in the short list for the best LPs of 2022. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, and it's a sound on paper that I would somewhat write off usually. I love my hip hop and I love my hardcore. Sometimes, I love references and stuff in it, but sometimes I don't like when the Venn diagram like overlaps each other a bit. A lot of the time I don't like that, and I'm like, because real MCs, don't sound good on crazy hardcore records, and people rapping on hardcore records usually don't sound good, but this works. It really works because there's charisma, there's flow, there's aggression, there's changing it up, there's moving on where they don't put the vocal over parts where it would sound ridiculous. Like, it's just really well thought out, crafted perfectly. It's a fantastic record. I bought it on vinyl.
That's right. I bought it too, Dan. I got it in the collection. Got it last weekend at Standards. What's up?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think I have all of these. Although I'm waiting on the Puny D. It won't come in the mail until March, but I can't wait. All right. I'm not buying Pure Noise yet, so I don't have the Terror. But I'm gonna get a Europress one of these days when a different label puts it out.
I bought it at the show from Terror, where I got COVID.
Yeah, I'd do that. I'd buy a copy off Terror. But yeah. Okay. Dan, who's the winner?
All right. Drum roll, please. Punitive Damage. This is the Blackout. Perfection.
All right, I'm here with Steph and Mike from Punitive Damage. Congrats, guys, on the hardcore record of the year. What's up?
What's up? Thanks for having us, and thanks for such a very kind award. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Steph, how do you feel about the record now that it's done? Like, as an artist, how satisfied are you with it?
Oh, I'm just absolutely beyond satisfied. I have just been so tired of having to sit on this record for so long and be so secretive. But all in all, I think, the things pan out kind of the way they're meant to. Everything came together the way it meant to. And like, I'm thrilled with every aspect of this record. Like, it's fucking awesome. And I'm just so happy that people can finally hear it.
Yeah, Mike, how did you approach writing this record? Because in the past, you've done demo, you've done EP, but writing a hardcore record that is not, Steph isn't singing and hitting notes. Like, it's not a melodic record, right? It's hard to write a hardcore LP. How did you approach it?
Frantically and absolutely terrified. I think at a few different points, I was like, we need to give Brian back his money. Cause I wanted, we kind of had like a bit of a cursed LP run, Steph and I, for a long time there before the Applewhite LP. And, just not being able to jam. And like, it was like kind of iPhone, like sending iPhone riffs back and forth. And, normally I like bring a riff in and then Kristen will be like, nah. And then we'll like season it until we get somewhere we're happy with it. But it was like, you kind of have to rely on people responding. So it was like very tough. And we were writing up until like we were recording vocals and like kind of like figuring some stuff out on like right before we did a take. Like the broad pieces were there, but it was quite stressful. And I had we pre-pro'd it and I had I'd been like thinking about it and like listening to it and like kind of consuming. My friend was sending me some like some band. They're like, "Oh, Mike, you'll like this. It's kind of like like I don't know, like the Replacements or whatever." And I was like, I can't listen to any of this until we're done recording. Like only hardcore. I cannot have melody polluting my mind. And so yeah, I was so lost in the sauce that I had no north, and I was like, I don't even know if this is good anymore. When you're looking at something like a color for so long or something, and you're like, I need to white balance because I have nothing. That's what it was like. So hearing people like it is like great because I was like, this shit might suck, and I don't know.
well, you've had a couple months now with it. How do you feel about it now?
Good. I feel like really good, and I think, like I said, because and that was like before we recorded. After we recorded, I probably listened to it like 1,100 more times. Like it was just to like really sink it in. And there's lots of things that I'm like, God damn it, I wish we'd done this or I wish we'd done that. But it's all like super minor stuff, and some of it we've started implementing live and what have you, and just like little things. But I feel good about it. It sounds good. Steph I usually have like kind of like vocal cadence and melodies in mind, and then Steph kind of comes with her own. I'm like, oh yeah, those are way better. So
yeah, Steph, how did you approach like having to write so many lyrics? Like for an LP, it's different than, to an EP. You have a few ideas, you get them down. This is a lot, and it's really impressive.
Thank you. Also, a lot of fear,
Yeah.
a lot of apprehension. Maybe not apprehension. A lot of, I guess, second guessing myself because, what I had what I had written for the EPs and the demos and stuff, like I was psyched on and I was very proud of. But, in terms of like subject matter and stuff, an LP gives you a lot more room, I think, to just kind of dive into more. And respectfully, like I find that an LP can be a bit daunting, especially a hardcore LP, because like how like you could easily end up making a 12, 13 song record where everything more or less kind of sounds the same. Or it's
Sure.
very indistinguishable. Like it's all a big blur of like the same thing. And that was my biggest fear going into it. And I know that in terms of vocals, that can definitely be, that definitely contributes to it. So I wanted to, like I guess make it interesting, but not interesting for the sake of like, let's make this kooky or interesting. But like, I guess for me, it was like digging deeper down into like things that like affected me or things that I, were always like kind of on my mind and stuff, and like the world around me. So, it was definitely like cool getting to dig into, like being able to write songs in Spanish. Like that was the first time I'd ever done that. And that was like very tricky and daunting in and of itself because it's like, that one, it's like more mid-tempo, so you do have to be like, I guess, like a bit more conscientious about like the structuring and the wording and the flow and stuff, and not like making it more interesting and not just like you know keeping it at 11 the whole time. Getting to talk about like things about like not even like relevant to today, but like more like, oh, like I want to, like conquest of Mexico was what had fueled the entire Western world economy and is like what made the Industrial Revolution possible, and had it not been for that, we wouldn't be where we are today. So I'm going to write about the conquest of Mexico. So it was really cool to be able to do more of that. And it's even cooler that people are down, I guess, or have like responded really positively to it. In the San Diego show we had played, I had somebody came up to me that I had never met before, and he had asked me. He was super psyched on singing the songs, and he had asked me about "Que me tienes miedo ahora," which is the song about the vigilante in Juarez, and he was specifically wanting to hear that song, and he was specifically really pumped on it because he had lived in Tijuana and like knows a lot about that stuff, and he was just gushing about it, and I literally couldn't believe that, like, I don't know, something that we collectively had written had evoked such a reaction. Sorry, I'm like rambling a lot, but it was cool. It was terrifying, but it was a really cool challenge, and I feel like I'm proud of what I was able to pull off.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's important to ride for your band, right? Like, I love, Mike, you saying that you listen to it 1,000 times after you're done, because like if you don't like listening to your own band, like why the fuck should anyone else care? You know?
Yeah, most of mine is like scrutinizing it,
Never
like looking
noticed you doing it,
looking
like,
for the
dude.
cracks.
No,
But there
come
was
on.
parts where I was like, "Yo, this is sick." But yeah, I definitely like like a forever tweaker. So I will like think of things that we could have done, and always in retrospect, hindsight's 2020. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it, and everyone killed it, and I don't think anything got left off. Like I was worried that a couple songs that ended up on there, Big Man, even Bottom Feeder to some degree, would get like cut because they weren't done and they were kind of out there, and then yeah, we just kind of were like, oh, we'll figure it out. We did the main parts, and we're like, okay, we're gonna put this on, and hey, can we do this? And it was like a lot of it was super new to us, and even on this last tour that we just got off of this week, we're like, holy fuck, we have to learn these songs, and nobody knows how to play them because we learned them like going into the studio because we didn't really practice a lot.
I love it. Well, everyone, get the record. If you haven't already ordered it, it'll be out when, guys? March, April? The vinyl?
Fingers crossed.
Maybe.
That's the tentative date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone pre-order it. You get it through Atomic Action Records. It's streaming right now on all the services and on the Bandcamp and all that. So handle business. Check it out. Congratulations, guys. We love this record. Yeah, big accomplishment.
Thank you so much.
Well, hell yeah, Dan. This was a great year for hardcore. Any final thoughts on this episode or the year? Although we are going to talk the year much more in 2 weeks.
This was incredible. I'm really happy with all these winning choices, but really you could press shuffle and lots of things could have come out that I would be equally happy with. And I'm just getting ready to smoke everyone in the Super 7 with my 2022 choices.
Yeah, everyone, this is a celebration of hardcore. This is music that we love and we put on for it, right? So I hope that everyone takes this with that in mind. I love hardcore. I'm 42 years old. Dan, how old are you?
46.
46. And we've been in this thing for a long time. I still love it like the day I discovered it, right? And so to be able to have the pleasure to put on for all these bands, this music that I love, I appreciate that. I appreciate all the listeners and everyone who loves hardcore and listens to this podcast. So thanks everyone for the support. Hardcore rules. We'll talk to you again in 2 weeks when we're going to do the Super 7 for 2022. We'll talk to y'all soon.